Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, or early evening, depending on what you want to call it. It's welcome back to the VWSC Modern Series Round 9 here at Road America. I'm JP. I'm going to be joined in the booth by Edward Hunter and Ross Smith, who's going to come along for the ride here this afternoon. Should be an absolutely interesting, exciting one. Trust me on that one when I talk about it. Well, let's have a look at the schedule. We are here at Road America. Not many rounds to go. 60 laps of Road America. Should take us roughly about 2 hours. Then we're heading on to the 29th of August, where we go to Kota and Fuji after that on the 26th. Road Atlanta on the 10th, then not Qatar and not Bahrain, apparently, on the 31st and the 21st of November. Let's have a look at the track here as well. Elkhart Lake, 4.05 miles, 6.52 kilometers, and opened first, built in 1955. We've got 14 corners here, ready for action and multi-class racing of GTPs and also LMP3s. It is going to be an exciting one. Let's have a look. Today's keys to the race. Keep the tyres cool. Well, let's see how that one goes. Watch stricter track limits. Mind class approach speeds, especially coming in through the kink, because you are going to be carrying some pace if you're in a hypercar. GTs are going to be 30 to 35 minutes free stops. Hypercars 20 to 24 minutes on 4 stops. Tyres on the right-hand side. Mediums and wets for the GTs. Medium, soft and wets for the hypercars. Rolling into the standings. Let's start off with the GT3 AMS. Vasilios Katarinakis out in front by 25 points over Matty Overton, with Daryl Kruger, Stephen Miller, Maximilian Petrovsky, Stuart Barge, Peter Meyer, Ross Smith, Christian Dalga and Josh Lepetri. In the teams, it's Dark Thunder Racing out in front, not by many points, only 3 over Pinnacle Racing. So let's see how that battle evolves. In the GT3 Pros is Dan Kirby out in front, no surprise, by nearly 85 points. That guy's just going to wrap it up, I'm sure, on that one. Over JT Tammy, then John Uyan, David John, Alan Holden, William Snowden, Riley Koenig, Troy Uyan, Brian Hall and Simon Kingsbury rounding out the top 10. In the team standing CMS Pro Porsche, you can see Dan Kirby, John Uyan, Troy Uyan out in front by, well, they're on 389. It's roughly around about 180 points over Luxury Lexus Racing in second place. In the Hypercar AMS, Jerry Chen out in front from George Angelidis on 7 points. Is George going to be the bridesmaid again? Or is he ever going to be the bride of the Hypercar AMS standings? He's got Zachary Chavot, the only 2, well, there's only 3 people in the 100-point mark. In the teams is Maya Shank Racing, Chavot and Angelidis over Monet and Chen for 287 and 259 respectively. And then you can see 3rd and 4th below that. In the Hypercar Pros, Tom Lane out in front from Ben Kesby. He's out in front by 28 points, I believe, with Johnny Gutierrez, Magnus Dahlgren, Axel Laflamme are your top 5. In the teams, this British-Turkish Racing Ferrari out in front by quite a while over Bad Day Racing Cadillac. See how they get on today. But ladies and gentlemen, that is your brief update and run through of everything that's going on. Let's bring Ed into the booth first. Ed, welcome in, bud. How are you?
Very good, thanks, James. It's always lovely to see a calendar that says where we're not racing for the final 2 rounds. But yeah, anyway, here we are, Road America, fantastic circuit, sort of good mix of high speed, but there's a lot of corners, particularly in the middle sector, that require a surprising amount of commitment for these sort of high speed stuff. So it isn't just a sort of it's not the you might think it from the first sector particularly that it's mainly sort of straights and 9-degree sort of corners, but it is a sort of deceptively tricky layout, especially when you've got 3 different classes effectively competing on it. Well, 4 actually at the same time, isn't it? So yeah, I'm excited to see how they get on. It'd be interesting to see people staying within the track limits while keeping the tyres cool, and yeah, how it's going to affect that the championship, particularly that Hypercar AM battle between Jerry Chen and George Angelidis, with George, as you say, being the bridesmaid repeatedly the last couple of seasons. Maybe you can get the upper hand here as we get to the business end of the season.
Yeah, we're going to find out how he gets on, and let's bring Ross into the booth and have a quick chat with him. Ross, welcome in, dear sir. How are you?
Great, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Happy to be here, and yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay, cool. That was short and sweet from Ross Smith there. Man of few words. Why have a longer conversation, Ross? You know what I mean? We'll just do it that way, shall we?
Ready for racing. Let's go.
Russ is trying to tell me that I gave a very long, rambly response there. Okay.
Yeah,
No,
God,
you said
blimey.
it all. How can I upstage that? You put it right there.
I don't
Don't
really
even
know.
try,
Yeah, Ross, but at least have a go. You know what I mean? Put the effort in, son. That would have been nice, wouldn't it? You know what I mean? Rather than just going, yeah, I'm all right. Cheers. Thanks for that. You know what I mean?
Why are you even
Hold on,
talking to me, man?
Yeah, why
You
did
next
I
week.
press the unmute button? Who knows on that one? Anyway, going back. Anyway, Russ, give us some insight here as well, right? We talked in the green room beforehand. What car is going to come out on top here? What do we think is going to happen?
Well, that's it's a tough call. We've got obviously like what you were talking with Ed there, mentioning the complexity of this track, and just looking at times alone is not going to paint the picture for you because there's just so much complexity. It's really warm out there on the track surface, over 40 degrees, and it's going to keep getting hotter as it goes on. It's middle of the day here in the U.S. and it's going to stay sunny right around Elkhart Lake where they're running today. So expect it to continue to heat up, especially as they keep circulating around, and tires are going to be the main thing. As you mentioned in the keys to the race early on, especially for the GTs, holding on to those tires and minimizing the amount of wear and stress you're putting on them throughout your stint is going to be key to make sure that you hold on to that pace. And more importantly, don't have any incidents, unforced errors, going off the track. You mentioned the kink. That is going to be a huge spot for contention where drivers are going to be fighting for space. You're on the limit. You don't want to give anything up. You don't want to let out because you can lose so much time. So be looking out for all kinds of close calls and maybe not so close calls going on there. And even the Moraine sweep, that's going to be another one that's going to be close, going down that long kind of braking zone into that hard left-hander at turn 5, one of the slowest corners on the track after one of the longest straights, the longest, fastest straights. So there was a lot of action there in NARS on Thursday, and it's going to be the same way here today.
Yeah, I think you might be right on that one. See how the likes of Ben Borman got on, who took the win at Sao Paulo in the Hypercar Pros. Jerry Chen winning the Hypercar AMS, of course, again over George Angelidis. Dan Kirby, GT3 Pro winner. Vasilios Katarinakis winning the GT3 AMS. It's going to be very interesting to see how they go, especially in the battle for the GT3 AMS, the GT3 Pros. Championships are still up for grabs, but Dan Kirby looking strong once again, Ed, and taking the lead in the GT3 Championship.
Yeah, he's been pretty difficult to beat this season, to put it mildly. And yeah, he's just every time I've come to commentate on, Kirby has put in pretty world-class performance. And it was also the case even when he had to share the car at Le Mans, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So yeah, that Porsche 911 GT3 number 90 is certainly going to be the one that everyone's watching. And there's certainly a case of when Kirby's going to become mathematically unreachable rather than if, seems to be the trend at the moment. But yeah, no reason for the likes of John or Troy Ian to give up just yet. We've still got enough races left to go, and there's still plenty of pride, plenty of podium places to fight for in GT3 Pro as well. Unfortunately, we've only got, I think, 3 AMs that look like they are going to be taking part in this one. Stephen Miller, Matthew Overton, and Daryl Kruger, of course. But you only need 2 cars to make a race, and we've got 3. Yeah,
well, it should be good for Matty Overton here today as well, Ross, because obviously with no Katarinakis, it gives him a nice little boost in the points, especially when they've got 38 points up for grabs for the win and 32 and 27. So basically, all of them are one of them's going to score 27 points and moving up that way, which is fairly obvious, actually. So I'm not really quite sure why I've just pointed that out, but it is a fairly obvious situation. But that'll be good for Matty Overton here as well in the GT3 AMS, Ross.
Oh yeah, 100%. And like you guys were saying, you only need 2. Good point there, Ed. But I would say that up and down the field, even with these smaller packed subcategories, subgroups that are in there for these driver classes, the action is still going to be ferocious. I mean, the battle we keep going back to with Jerry Chen and George Angelidis, both of them are fierce competitors. They're not the fastest in their class at all times, and certainly like when they're running hypercars, they're down in AM, so they're not going to be at the top of that hypercar field. But the battles that are always going on between the two of them are just astounding. They're always putting pressure on each other. It's great to see them taking advantage of the tracks where their cars are strong, where their driving style kind of suits the situation. and where they're able to kind of pounce on things happening with their rivals. Sometimes they're forced errors, unforced errors, and it goes back and forth with the historics too. And you see that all up and down the grid. So Matthew Overton, he's going to be there. I'm sad to see that Vasilis is not here because he had such a great run in the last race where he just kind of had his surprise win out of nowhere at Sao Paulo. So, I was hoping that he'd be back here today to kind of, keep that momentum up and put some pressure on the championship. But it's still going to be good. You're going to still see a lot of inter-class competition all throughout this thing.
Yeah, that's the thing I'm looking forward to, seeing how Jerry Chen and George Angelidis goes on that one. It's going to be interesting for me in the Hypercar Pros, Ed, especially with the likes of Ben Borman at the top. How is he going to get on? Because there isn't any Ben Kesby here this afternoon. There is a Johnny Gutierrez who's sitting third at the moment. So Johnny's going to get a nice bump in points up towards Ben Kesby. But obviously, Ben Borman, can he do this back-to-back? Can he go 2 wins in a row here this afternoon?
Yeah, well, getting just the one win in the first place at Sao Paulo was impressive. So Borman has had a bit of an up and down season, hasn't he? But the Acura, in fairness, has been sort of up and down the field, hasn't it? Some rounds it's been quite strong, other rounds it's been a little bit anonymous then. So, but I think, Ben, his confidence will certainly be high. He'll be looking to sort of build on it, keep the momentum going for as long as possible. We know Johnny Gutierrez is very, very quick over a single lap. So if that Cadillac decides to get aggressive on strategy, he could be a threat. And then Tom Lane, who's within the Ferrari, is always a sort of ever-present, incredibly consistent driver. And then you've got, as we say, Magnus Dahlgren in the Toyota, who the Danish driver, I'm not mistaken, Dahlgren. But yeah, he is usually, he's certainly from one of the Nordic countries. But yeah, Dahlgren is always there or thereabouts and ready to pounce if the leaders hit trouble for sure. So I think I agree with you. It's those 4 at the very front of the field that are probably going to take a lot of the focus in Hypercars, certainly, as well as our AM battle. But yeah, I think Ben Borman, BB, as he's affectionately known in some quarters, is certainly going to be keen to impress once again. The key thing here will be nailing the start and trying to build as big a lead in the first stint as he can. I've seen a lot of races at Road America where there's been, particularly at the start, the road, there's that uphill bit, then it goes green right as they go over the sort of start-finish line. And the wall on the inside, I've seen Hypercars squeeze each other into the wall, defending too aggressively, and it's caused absolute mayhem in other championships. So hopefully VWSC does not repeat that mistake. So Borman will defend, but let's hope not too aggressively.
Yeah, I'm more interested to see. Hopefully we won't get the parking lot, which we've seen a lot of after the start, where somebody goes stupid and then just careers into about 10 cars, and next thing you know, it's a reminder of Watkins Glen going up through the S's, where you just cannot move at all, and it's a complete and utter parking zone. One of the things we haven't mentioned, of course, is the famous orange zone that we have in VWSC that runs all the way round through down to turn 11. Okay, so that's coming out of the carousel and then all the way down through the kink. Now, obviously, Russ, for anybody sat at home, give us a quick rundown of what the orange zone means and what is the consequences of the orange zone.
So it simply means that for the first lap of the race, that particular portion of the track is heavily scrutinized. So if there is an incident, then and it goes to stewards and they find fault with the driver, there are typically even harsher penalties that are applied, whatever they may be. So if you were getting a drive-through, maybe, or like a time penalty or something like that, it's going to likely be doubled or something in that range, just depending on the context and severity of the situation. But it's only for the first lap, except for races where it's a red zone, in which it's a permanent orange zone, and then those harsher penalties are applied throughout, which we see at Road Atlanta coming up in a couple rounds. But yeah, it's something that they do at VWSC here to try and quell some of those first laps incidents that might kick up, where drivers are just gung-ho, the red mist descends and they're just trying to do everything they can and potentially ruining other races. So it seems to work out pretty well, especially with the starts, which are currently set to be as soon as the leader of your class crosses the start-finish line, you can go, which drivers have the ability to see that with their with their maps, and it's going to be the same for the GTs. When the first GT row goes by, everyone can go.
Yeah, well, talking about penalties, there was enough of them coming out of Interlagos last time out. There's a few stern warnings. Ben Borman, Axel Flam, Stephen Miller and Magnus Dahlgren. They've all been stern warnings. Ben Borman got his for not leaving enough room. Axel Flam, Stephen Miller got theirs for AC. And Johnny Gutierrez got a warning as well for a late passing attempt. And poor old Magnus Dahlgren got one for a late passing attempt with light contact. Some of the people who weren't so lucky, 25 seconds to Brian Hall, 25 seconds to Tom Lane. George gave himself a 75-second penalty with 15 seconds to Alan Holden and 75 seconds to Eric Monet. So that's going to be really mixing it up for some of the guys who unfortunately have got stop and holds that they've got to come in and serve, of course, straight away or within the first 3 laps. That's going to be an interesting thing. But a penalty for George Angelidis, 75 seconds, Ed, on a lap that probably isn't going to be much more than that.
Yeah, that's certainly a bit of a setback, isn't it? So George is obviously get it out of the way. There's still, you know, a good 2.5 hours. Is it 3 hours race here? I forget already how long the race is.
2 hours is going to be.
2 hours, there we go. So that's enough time to make it up, because you never know what can happen. Road America is one of those tracks where, especially if you lose concentration or you come up to a back mark at the wrong time, then it could, the consequences of getting it wrong could be catastrophic around here. So, so yeah, certainly it's not game over for Angelidis, but it is a bit of a setback, and it means, of course, that if he has to serve very early, he's going to potentially emerge in the middle of some of the GT3s as well. So that's certainly not something you really want to have to deal with around here. Yeah, as far as penalties are concerned, get them out of the way early enough, and then you can just sort of carry on with your race and get the best result possible out of it.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the thing, Ross, isn't it? Is it going to be going in, getting them out of the way straight away, or are you going to wait for the very final 3rd lap and try and open as much gap to the GT3s as you can? What's going to be the strategy?
I think that's 100% what you do, and that's typically what we see, unless there's some other valid reason for the driver to come in and do it, like maybe they've caught some damage or something. Though I don't believe you're allowed to serve at the same time. We have seen certain situations, though, like on an opening lap where things work out. But yeah, almost 100% of the time they're going to come in. And typically, with the new penalty system, the penalties that you receive during a race are converted to time and then added to your race time. So whatever position you come up with there, that's what you're finishing with, unless you do not finish the race, and then it's carried to the next one. So a little bit of a complication with the way that kind of stuff is set up for VWSC, but I think it's a lot more fair, because that way the incidents that happen in the race you're in are applied to those results, and you have to overcome it there. So, you know, if you do somebody wrong, you know, kind of like with F1, you know, you get a 5-second penalty, you know, for whatever, and it's added to your time. You got to make sure you got that gap by the end, or else, you know, you're cooked. But we're doing the same thing here, so we'll see how it goes for George. Though it's a tough one to overcome.
Do the same F1 rules for penalties, but not for blue flag. But we won't go into that one. On that one, Carl's Boys in YouTube chat as well. Hello, mate, and Mr. Reese, of course, our resident Ted Kravitz, is also in the booth at the same time. Right, we're going to be heading onto the grid very, very shortly. We will be able to bring it up here as well and get this up and running for you once again, and we can have a look and see how these guys get on. Let's take a look through the starting order of the grid on that one. Ben Borman out in front with Johnny Gutierrez sitting alongside him. Then you got Tom Lane and Magnus Dahlgren rounding out the top 4 championship contenders all the way through that. Not so much Ben Borman, but I'm sure he'll be all right. Moving on, we've got Chad Grateus and Gilles Lalonde alongside him. Chad Day, I think, is new to the series. Must be. I've never heard of him before. With George Angelidis alongside Jerry Chen. Alan Smith and Norm Graff with Vinicius Goncalves and Hubert van Gashoven in 12th place. There's one more hypercar before we go down into the GT3s. That's Dean Clark. Dan Kirby leading the way in the GT3 Pros with Alan Holden and Ryan Paulbert Reyes. Let's hope Ryan can get that Porsche to the end of the race, bless him. Then we've got Brian Hall, John Uyan, Troy Uyan and David Junt. Next, after that, we go into the GT3 AMS. It's the final 3 cars. Stephen Miller leading the way over Matty Overton with Darrell Kruger finishing off there as well. So that's going to be an interesting one to see how these guys get on. Once again, we're going on a full pace lap here, Ed, again. You know, what are we doing on the pace lap, Ed? Are we just warming tires? Are we trying to stay cool, calm, collective? What's the situation?
Well, especially keeping the tires cool over the long length of the stint is going to become a big factor. You definitely don't want to warm them up too quickly, then you don't see a whole lot of weaving at the moment then, as they are just going downhill into turn 2 effectively here. But yeah, I think it's more about preparing for the race to come, definitely making sure everything, not just the car itself in terms of brakes are working well, you've got to make sure your peripherals are still working, your force feedback isn't about to just randomly die on you. It has been known to happen in R-Factor 2 now and again. But yeah, I think also just final checks, what's the strategy at the moment, and sort of you're thinking through your head, if this first lap goes wrong, or Pete Tong as you might say, what's the backup plan? Like if I go in the pits and I'm like several laps down, do I switch tires and go really aggressive, or how much damage is it worth tanking or whatever? You go for all these different scenarios in your head. Most important thing, really, especially if you've got a race engineer in your ear, is to sort of just stay calm, think about what you have to do once it goes green, and make sure you're prepared for it. Because the last thing you want to do is have your head deep in some strategy, and then all of a sudden the race starts and everyone's breezing past you or bumping in the back of you in a worst case scenario.
Yeah, we've just had it confirmed that all the time penalties will be added after the last round. So they were added at the end of Interlagos. So technically nobody should be serving a penalty here as well.
Oh, well, that's a relief.
Yeah, it's a relief for George Angelides. Otherwise he would have been absolutely done on that one. So that could explain on the last time out for George Angelides why he finished down in 3rd, because he was behind Jerry Chen, Norm Graff. So George Angelides kind of getting away with one a little bit on that one, but I guess that's part of the new penalty system. They will be added to the end of the race, and then your position will be done after that. This is where it's going to be very, very interesting indeed. I think running through the kink down into turn 12 of Canada Corner, this is where the hypercars are going to spit and bubble and trip over the GT3s, I think. And this is where the GT3s are probably going to go, no, it was the hypercars' fault if they have a coming together. Because let's face it, that generally happens. And there's normally a hypercar and GT3 argument at some point about whose fault it was. Because it's multi-class racing and it's on the faster car to make the overtake. See, Ross, pat on the back for me for getting it right on that one as well. And nobody should be moving out the way when they've got blue flags. They should stay on their line and allow the faster car to go through. The only difference is that they can't defend or get in the way, can they, Ross? On that one, especially not at Le Mans. Especially not at Le Mans, Ross. Can they? There as well. A couple of people running wide on the grass there as the hypercars are going to be coming up the hill. If you don't know what that's in reference to, please go and have a look at the historic Le Mans and you will see what it was in reference to. Right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, here we go. We're going to be up and running. It's going to be green, green, green. Right about now, Ben Borman gets off the line. He's got Johnny Gutierrez running alongside him. Tom Lane's tucked in right behind him, but the hypercars coming down into turn 1. Gutierrez and Lane almost having a little bit of an argy-bargy already. Through turn 2 they go, dropping down the hill into turn number 3. And at the moment, Ben Borman takes the victory into the whole shot, I should say. Johnny Gutierrez, Tom Lane in behind him. Let's pick up on the GT3's Dan Kirby straight over the line, and away he goes. Is that going to be the last time the GT3 field will see the back end of that Porsche of Dan Kirby? Well, we're going to find out as this goes on, but it is Dan Kirby out in front, Alan Holden in that Lamborghini sitting in 2nd place, Ryan Paulbert Reyes in 3rd. But great start there, Ed. Ben Borman away at the beginning, Gutierrez and Lane still not giving each other room.
Yeah, there we go. So just uphill then as they go under the bridge and into 6th, and now through 7, down the hurry downs into turn 8. Then it is Tom Lane that has actually gotten through on Johnny Gutierrez in his 499P as he's now zipped up to the back of Ben Borman as they go through the carousel and the bend and the kink at turn 11. And Borman in his Acura, looks like the livery looks a little bit like it's beige green, a little bit like a 70s bathroom you'd find or something. But
were you
but
even
yeah,
around in the 70s, Ed?
No, but I have been in bathrooms made in the 70s. But anyway.
I don't want to know. Anyway, moving on from that one. Apart from Ed waking up from, in the wrong bathroom. These guys carry on battling away through turn 14. They go, and it is Borman, it is Lane, and it is Gutierrez. I'm a little bit worried about the GT3 field, Ross. Can Kirby be caught by that Lamborghini of Alan Holden, or is Kirby going to hang on and just run away with it like we've seen so many times this season?
I think Kirby's going to be in a good spot. We saw in NARS on Thursday that the Porsche 911s are very strong here. They're overall pretty good. Doesn't mean that they can't get away from them, especially in these warmer track conditions, but Alan Holden has shown that while that Lamborghini is strong, it can have its own Porsche moments for sure, and definitely slip out on him. So we'll see what the opening segment does. I mean, I think he's in a good spot right now, but he does have to hang on to those tires. And we know just from reports from him that he likes to use up the rears a lot. So he's just got to stay true, stay strong, don't have any mistakes, and he might have a chance to be able to catch up on Kirby. Who knows? Maybe if there's some interaction with multi-class traffic.
Yeah, and that's going to be the one we're going to be looking out for here as well. Mr. Reese is on vacation, apparently, as well. We just got a notification. He thought he'd hop in and say hi. Where are you vacating? Or going on holiday, I should say. Here as well, as these guys continue to fight it out. But this is where the early stages of close battles running through. We got Matty Overton's overtaken Stephen Miller. So Matty Overton leading the GT3 Anfield, which was very, very important for him. We've got a couple of people. Magnus Dahlgren has been off the side of the circuit, but came back on not long after, so I'm not overly worried. That's probably a brief run wide in turn number one. Obviously out there on that concrete section now as these guys battle on all the run down now into Canada corner. The right-hander at the end is going to be a hard braking zone. Borman still hanging on here, which is going to be very, very good for him. But it is going to be round about here. We're probably going to see most of the battle. Gilles Lalonde, Alan Smith having a nice little fight. Norm Graff further up the road. He's battling away with Jerry Chen in front of him. That's going to be an interesting one for George Angelidis. How's that going to work out for both of these guys as well? Let's not forget, George has not got his teammate Zachary Chauveau here, and Eric Monet is also not here either. So it's kind of on these two guys to put the times in here, Ed, and get their team some points in the team standings.
Exactly then. It's not just the drivers between Chen and Angelidis, it is the teams as well that's all important at the moment. Chen defending from Graff, and Angelidis is 2 seconds behind Chad Gratius, who is starting to take control of the Hypercar AM lead, but also we've seen Tom Lane set the fastest lap and snatch the lead away from Ben Borman on this particular lap then. So, or very briefly he did. I think they're fighting each other. So it was on the run into 5 that Lane was briefly ahead. Borman getting sideways as they go uphill out of turn 5 and into 6. It's Tom Lane again, like we saw with Johnny Gutierrez earlier, snatching the inside, and it is the purple and black Ferrari 499P that has assumed the lead. So Borman, after his victory in Interlagos, will now have to fight to get back ahead then, as we are only 4 laps into this 61-lap 2-hour race. Borman now can see Lane disappearing up in front of him. He's got to worry more about Gutierrez and the Cadillac behind him, as he's really struggling to get it turned in there.
Yeah, I can see that car, that Acura of Borman there, Ross. He's getting a little bit of a slide on certain points. He really doesn't want it. And we saw that coming out of 5 and then up in the run into 6, allowed Lane to go through on the inside. Borman struggling here. Can he not get his tyres warm, Ross, or has he cooked the eggs? Surely can't have cooked them up already.
Now, James, I want you and Ed to pay close attention to the sidewalls on the side of Ben Borman's car. He's running the hard compound right now, and it was very important to hold off these 2 chasers behind him as long as he could, so that way they would use up their cars as much as possible, because those tires probably need about 3-4 laps before they can come in and kind of settle. The mediums, however, I think the crossover for they're going to fall off in this heat. And so over the next probably, I want to say 5 to 6 laps, we're going to see Ben's times start to creep up, or, they'll all creep up, but his will creep up less than these other 2, and I think he's going to put the fight back to him. And in that case, it's going to be up to whoever's in front to just be totally defensive and hold on to whatever they have left on their rims.
Yeah, you can see the tire compound on the left-hand side there as well. It's medium hard. there for Borman. The medium. Angelidis has also got hards on as well, with Jerry Chen and Norm Graff behind him. Gilles Lalonde's running the hards, and Alan Smith. It's going to be quite interesting to see how much later on in the race these two are going to come, or these multiple drivers are going to be coming to each other. There's been a DNF of Stephen Miller here once again. We'll have a look back at that right now.
He was fighting Overton, wasn't he? So it must have been something quite dramatic to see him out this early.
Hopefully not. He did have an incident Thursday. It was actually a technical problem with his wheel.
Oh, not yet. That's often the death throes, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right, Ed.
Yeah, exactly. As Ross was saying earlier, it is Holden that is using a bit more of his time. I saw at the start that Kirby made a really strong getaway, but Holden has sort of kept with him, has looked just a little bit more aggressive, particularly under braking through some of these corners, whereas Kirby, I think, is looking a little bit stronger on some of his exits then. So there's a little bit push and pull between the two of them so far, but if Holden can take the lead, that could start to create problems for Kirby, particularly if they start getting backed into the Ryan Pulpit Ray's Brian Hall battle that's going on for third in class behind them. As you see, Kirby just testing limits of the track limits through the very fast kink at turn 11. Down kettle bottoms towards Canada Corner they come, and the purple car of Holden is just biding his time at the moment, but he's up against one of the very best duty-free drivers that VWSC has to offer in Dan Kirby here. So if Holden can just keep him honest in this first stint and stay in contention, then he will be doing a very good job. But as Ross keeps alluding to, the temperatures, they're not getting any colder. They're going to keep skyrocketing. So 38 degrees track temperature at the moment and 23 ambient temperature. So Holden may have to start backing off ever so slightly just to keep the tyres alive, whereas Kirby is still looking very much in command at the moment.
Yeah, he is running down in through turn 1, down the hill here as well for these gentlemen through into turn 3. And then on the run down the Moraine sweep down into 5. Don't worry, I can count. It's just that the Americans put numbers somewhere where they don't really need them here as well. But we won't go into details because we've got an American in the booth and I don't want to upset him.
Love it.
This early on this one. But it is Tom Lane, Ben Borman side by side. Borman's got the inside lane. Lane's run a little bit wide. Down into 3 they go. They're already coming up to GT3s. Ben Borman gets it back. Johnny Gutierrez sitting in the back waiting anxiously there as well to see what comes of this. But at the moment it's going to be Borman. Use the GT3 as much as you can, son. Block Lane in. Give him no exit through. You've got to make it through. Lane's got to make it through. Lane's diving in here. He knows the importance of staying with his car. Johnny Gutierrez also made it through. Borman sliding again through 5 up into 6. And at the moment, Lane, Borman and Gutierrez opening up gaps here, Ed, and they're lapping GT3s already.
Yeah, I think that was Darryl Kruger in the 720S. They were just negotiating. It's again Lane gets beside. So Lane was saying fastest laps of the race earlier, but I think exactly as Ross said, Borman has got the hards into a good operating temperature. Last night for Borman, 149.6, Lane 150.2. I noticed that Lane was really strong in the middle sector, but Borman was matching him in the first and final sector. Speaking of the middle sector, there's yellows there. Somebody's hit trouble further down the pack, I believe. As if it must be Dahlgren, who's fallen about 6 seconds behind them.
Yeah, Chad Gratias has also been off the side of the circuit. We'll have a look back at that one very shortly. I just want to find out what happens here and see whether or not Gutierrez can put him all over the lane here as well. He slid that car through turn 12, in through 13 they go. Now into the final corner. Borman's made it past Matty Overton, which was vitally important for Borman. He had to clear Matty as quickly as he can. Gutierrez slots in, pulls out. He He's on a bit of a whiz here as well. Down into turn number 1. He's going to pull alongside Lane. He's going to try and go side by side. Down into turn 1. Gutierrez, is he going to make it through? Is this going to be a kick in the teeth for Lane? It is. Get it stopped, son. Get it stopped. Cover him off. Lane runs wide again. Down into 3. Gutierrez gets through. Borman is in a whole heap of traffic of GT3s. He needs to clear them here, Ross. Otherwise, he's just going to be stuck there. But this is great for Borman to open up gaps. Gutierrez trying to go through on the Lexus. That Lexus not happy. Get on the light, son.
That was David Yunt, I think, that he banged into there.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Ross, that was a little bit manic.
Yeah, I love it though. I mean, this is exactly like what you want to see. I mean, maybe not quite so close, a little bit of a shave, but seeing these 3 different manufacturers, 3 different driving styles, 3 different layouts. Well, 2 of them are different. One of them's all-wheel drive, but just completely different. And they're all on top of each other, still putting the screws to one another. Still early on, only 8 laps in, 8.5 about right now as they're coming through the carousel. But this is great. Love it.
Here we go now on board with Ben Borman. We're going to see how he can master the traffic. That's Ryan Paulbert Reyes is going to be leaders of GT3 just up ahead of us. You can see them coming into view very, very quickly. Closing speed absolutely rapid from Ben Borman here as well as he's getting onto the back of these guys. Now there they are. He really doesn't want to catch him in 13. He wants to wait if he can to get him into 14. He's going to try and find a gap. Where's he going to go? Now nip up the inside. He doesn't. Holden gives him the outside line. Doesn't make it completely easy. Through he goes on Alan Holden. You can see in the background and the mirror at the top. Gutierrez is coming now past Kirby. Gutierrez is on his way as well. Tom Lane only just clearing Holden. Is he going to get Kirby down into turn number 1? It's going to be a dive on the inside. There he goes. He's got through. Everybody's made it through past the leaders of the GT3s here, Ed. And at the moment, they're still nip and tuck.
Yeah, of course, good news with Johnny Gutierrez. He's back ahead of Tom Lane. After Lane jumped him at the start and then briefly took the lead then. So it's been a bit up and down. But yeah, Gutierrez now in a good position to challenge Borman. Of course, the medium's still working relatively well. It could just be that Tom Lane pushed them that a little bit too hard. Is now sort of paying the price and trying to cool them down for the rest of the stint while trying to stay in the slipstream of Borman and Gutierrez ahead of him. There's also of course, a very close battle between our 2 Hypercar AM Championship leaders, Angelidis and Chen. Angelidis, since Chad Gratias had that incident that's dropped him down into 4th in class and 8th in the overall order. Now Angelidis has got Chen about 8 tenths behind him. So once again, the Greek driver knows he's got to win this to sort of close back in on Chen. 7 points between them at the moment.
Yeah, there's a couple of replays here as well. This is George Angelidis starting it off on this one. Runs wide in turn 1. That's the off track we're talking about. Chad Gratias did not have as much luck here as well. He's going down into the left-hander of 8 at the moment. He's going to go round, lighting it up there. And unfortunately, Chad, he just had to sit there and wait for them guys to go past him. Drops down the order. Matty Overton has just had some drama. Looks like coming into turn 14. There might be a hypercar involved. Nope. Matty's just done it all on his own. Still leading the Hypercars GT3 AMS, but boy, oh boy, is it close for Matty Overton at this moment in time. Going back now to live pictures, there is Matty Overton there as well. Angelidis has opened up about a 1.3 second gap over Jerry Chen. Chen tucked in behind him. You see him there as well. Angelidis coming into traffic once more. Through the leaders at the GT3. He's going to wait. He's going to be patient. I don't know if that's such a good idea because now Chen is coming at him here down this long straightaway on board with Jerry Chen. You can see Angelidis' rear end looming away from us. Past Dan Kirby we go. We're tucked in. We're about as close as we've ever been here, Ross. Is this Jerry Chen's opportunity or has Angelidis built a sterner stuff? He's going to start opening gaps up.
It's hard to say. These 2 cars are diametrically opposed in the way that they're set up. The Acura loves those high-speed corners. It loves using its high downforce ability and kind of that top speed, whereas the 963 is just a little bit more handicapped for the top end. But man, it is dynamite through the corners, and I think Jerry's doing what he can to capitalize on that. We'll see how much he closes the gap here at the end of the Marine sweep.
I think Gutierrez has had a problem. So to cut across your Gutierrez down to 3rd behind Tom Lane.
Yeah, he's been off the side of the circuit. We'll have a look back at that one. very, very shortly. I just want to see what happens here. Angelidis looks like he's a bit of a Bambi on ice at the moment. Jerry Chen looks like he's a little bit more sturdier with his ice skates on here. But these guys go down into the left-hander of 8. You can see the line of Angelidis is just not as wide as Chen, not opening up the corner. In through carousel we go. It's literally barely half a second between the two of them through that looping carousel, which looks like you're at it for absolutely ages. There's GT3s in front of us there as well. They've just gone flashing through the bottom of the picture. But here comes Jerry Chen. Here comes George Angelidis. Let's see what happens here as well. That's actually a hypercar there at the bottom of that picture as well. Sitting in the bottom of the picture, this is Magnus Dahlgren. He's been into the pits, I believe, as well. Concalves has been into the pits. So Magnus Dahlgren just there, unfortunately, at the bottom. But Jerry Chen can't get any closer to what's going on at this moment in time. Let's have a look at the off-track that we were talking about. Johnny Gutierrez as he's coming into the left-hander of 6. Oh, that's one of them horrible spins there, Ed. It's so slow and uncomfortable for Gutierrez that unfortunately he just kind of had to sit there and let these guys go through. Hubert van Gashoven is another one who's also had drama in turn. Oh, watch the back end, you're already wiggly. And unfortunately just runs it off there as well, rather than diving onto the brakes for Hubert. Great job from him, but it has kind of mixed things up a bit. Jerry Chen tucked right up behind Angelidis now as well, Ed. He's looking like he's on a bit of a mission.
Yeah, very costly spin for Gutierrez at such a low speed as well. That's cost him a good 13, nearly 14 seconds then in the race and has dropped him. Luckily, of course, Dahlgren has had his own issues, so he's still ahead of him. But yeah, Gutierrez knows now he's got to rely on his pace to get back into play here. While meanwhile, Borman has pulled another 4/10 on Tom Lane, got the gap to 4.5 seconds now. But as you rightly point out, it's this battle between these top 3 actually, because Norm Graff, while Angelidis has been fending off Jerry Chen, that dark blue Valkyrie at number 13 has been closing in. So Norm, can he put the pressure? He's got nothing to lose in the championship compared to Angelidis and Chen. I think he's some way off both of them. So he potentially, this Valkyrie could be putting in aggressive moves, and they've not got as much incentive to fight him as they do each other, essentially. So Norm, if he's got the pace here, could make use of it. As you can see, both of them, all of this group starting to be held up by Magnus Dahlgren here.
Yeah, a little bit interesting in that one as well. Mr. Reese is at a lake, apparently, chilling and taking in the good vibes. And Johnny's just joined YouTube chat and gone, hello. Hello, mate. Welcome in. Thank you so much for that one. Which lake are you at, Mr. Reese? You're not at Elkhart Lake by any chance, are you? No, that would be a strict coincidence, wouldn't it? If you were there as these guys continue to fight out. Matty Overton still retains the lead in the GT3 AMS by about 9.5 seconds. Stephen Miller 5 laps down. Are you back out on the racetrack, son? No, you are out. Unfortunately, it looks like for Stephen Miller on that one. Borman still leading the Hypercar Pros by 5.5 seconds over Tom Lane. In the Hypercar AMS, Angelidis is leading the way with Jerry Chen, and then Dan Kirby slowly but surely opening up the gap from Alan Holden, Ross. Kind of what we expected.
Yeah, as Ed pointed out, he's just much more stable in that platform. I mean, he was maybe a little bit pressured. You know, we saw him kind of pushing through, and I think he was just doing the minimum that he could to make sure that he stayed out in front of Alan while preserving as much of the car as he can. And I think you're going to see that once he comes up here for their first round of pit stops, that he'll probably be able to extend maybe a lap or 2 more, because he's just so good on the throttle control and everything. There was actually, if you look back in the Discord chat, there was some discussion with Paul Ibbotson on getting through the carousel, and they very conveniently threw up some Motec data of Kirby's inputs versus Paul's, and it's very interesting to look at if you're a connoisseur of data on these sims. But it's a testament to what Kirby can do with the car, and I think it's a tall mountain to climb for Alan Holden to be able to put the pressure on him throughout this race.
Yeah, I think so. It'd be interesting to see what Holden could do, though. How close is he going to get once the pit stop cycles are out and done on that one? It's not going to be long until we start seeing some of the hypercars, I'm sure, start diving into pit lane. Jerry Chen still providing most of the action, tucked in behind Angelidis behind Dahlgren at this moment in time. Dahlgren struggling here, Ed, for a Hypercar Pro. He's not really been able to get away from the Hypercar AMS. There you can see in front of him, Angelidis going to dive down the inside here. Has Dahlgren got that has he got a problem in the Toyota? But at the moment, he's not looking comfortable.
Yeah, he's just been dropping back from the 3 leaders, hasn't he? And now into the AM leaders. So I definitely think he maybe had some off that we missed earlier, or potentially he's got some kind of other problem. As you see there, Jerry Chen absolutely getting a wiggle on through turn 3 then as they go through the flat-out run for Moraine sweep through turn 4. And, of course, now Dahlgren will be getting a little bit of... he was about 7/10 a lap slower than Angelidis the previous lap then, as, again, the rear just hangs out through turn 5 then. So it's only a matter of time, surely. Jerry Chen knows now that Angelidis, because they're all being backed up behind Dahlgren. Now that Angelidis is clear, is almost into the gravel. It does go onto the grass and gravel. Does Magnus Dahlgren and emerges just in front of Norm Graf there, who just has his wits about him and avoids him in time there. But that could have been a plane crash there if Magnus wasn't more careful.
Yeah, this is the only thing I've got for Dahlgren that looks like he's been off track. This is straight away in turn number 1. Runs wide, but it shouldn't really affect him there as well. I've got
maybe some kind of a hardware issue then, potentially.
Yeah, I've got
or
nothing
he's
else
suffering
for
with
him.
the tyres.
I've got nothing else for Magnus Dahlgren at all on that one, so I'm not entirely sure what he's got himself up to, but whatever it is, he's done a bad job. Pit stops, Ben Borman, Tom Lane also in, Johnny Gutierrez is going to dive in as well. Is this going to be a George Angelidis into pit lane there as well? Sure. He does. Yep. Everybody, is this going to be the whole hypercar field diving in? It looks like it. Dahlgren's even gone in as well. I think all of the hypercars will be on there. Paul Glover in YouTube chat. Can George be the bride? No, I don't know. I don't know. He might be. Who knows? He's not. I don't think
that's in
behind.
our power.
Yeah, that's not unfortunately in our power. But he's only 7 points behind Jerry Chen, so we'll find out on that one. Gilles Lalonde peels in. I think Alan Smith is going to do the same on that one, and I think these guys are going to be starting to dive in. Oh, Smith carries on.
Okay, strategy.
Yeah, I know Gratias did pit he was essentially pitting the previous lap, so he's got to stop out of the way already. But yeah, everybody else not really diverging on strategies. So yeah, Smith, how much longer can he stay out there? Should it's only be 1 or 2 laps extra at most?
Yeah, I would have thought possibly 1. Ross, I don't think he's going to be able to go too far for Alan Smith as he's bounced himself all the way up to the top of the standings. Borman still comes out in front of Lane. In fact, he comes a long way out in front of Lane as well. So Borman's on the way down into Moraine. Lane's coming down into turn number 3. So a long gain there for Lane. Jerry Chen has jumped George Angelidis in the pit stops. Jerry Chen gets out in front of Angelidis, who's got Norm Graf for company there as well. So changing the hypercar atoms for that situation. Jerry Chen jumping George. That's a big one, Ed, this early on.
Indeed it is. We know Jerry Chen loves to do the strategy masterclass, doesn't he? So it's often the thing that gets him to the front in some of these races. So will that come to bite him later on if he's underfueled it or maybe not changed tyres, whereas Angelidis and others have? As there we see Jerry Chen going a little bit wide for turn 5, and oh my goodness, there's a car behind getting very side. That's Hubert, isn't it? Getting very sideways and nearly bodying the Dan Kirby.
Yeah, I don't think Kirby would have been too impressed if that had happened. Angelidis is trying to clear Kirby now. Graf just goes past Alan Holden. Angelidis dives up the inside. Is he going to be able to get Kirby? He does. What about Graf? Nothing good doing for Norm Graf there. He hasn't got anything. He can't get through. He's going to have to try and sweep around the outside of the carousel. And Norm Graf does do that and gets the job done over the Porsche Pro, the GT3 Pro Porsche of Dan Kirby. I'll get my teeth to work at some point. That would be nice, as now he's chasing down as well. So it's all mixed up in the hypercar field at the moment. Dan Kirby still out in front in the GT3s. Is 1.2 seconds ahead of Holden. Matty Overton still comfortably 9.5 seconds there as well. Big change for George Angelidis and Jerry Chen, no, Ross. Was that just a bad decision by George, or has Jerry pulled some masterstroke?
Well, Jerry's always been strong in his pit stops, and I would say quite a bit more than George. I think that might be one of his Achilles heels, is getting in there, getting stopped on his marks properly. I mean, he can corner pretty well, he can hit his brakes really well, but I'd say he's probably about mediocre when it comes to getting his pit stops right consistently. So, yeah, I think Jerry just managed to jump him. Maybe there was some strategy there. They're pretty close, though, so I don't know if it's so much that. I'm just kind of wondering what's going to happen with the Craven Racing teammates with Alan Smith and Van Gashoven, because both of them ended up going around another lap. I'm wondering if they might end up being able to take that through the end of this race, because if they can get, say, 2, maybe 3 more laps ahead of the competition worth of fuel by the end, that the timing table's close, but if they maintain the kind of pace they've had, they might actually be in a good spot to be able to take advantage and up their positions.
See how he goes on. Is Alan Smith going to go in this time as he goes through turn 12, through Canada corner we go. Let's see what happens for Smith on this pit stop. Is he going to dive into pit lane, or is he going to go one more? It probably might not hurt him if he can get one more out, but it does. No, he does carry on. Gets another lap as well over Ben Borman. Borman's there behind him, 6.5 seconds. He's got 14 to lane behind that as well. So good old Alan Smith here, really putting the efforts in. You can see the gaps to the leader on the left-hand side there. 31 seconds to Gutierrez, 48 to Gashoven as well. And Dahlgren in behind that the same amount of time. So, yeah, is this a masterstroke for Alan Smith here, Ed, or what's he trying? What's he planning?
Yeah, I think it could be a tyre delta thing where he's trying to pit a bit late to get some fresher tyres on, or it could be a fuel thing, as Ross was sort of implying. So it means that he can maybe try and save a pit stop as the race goes. But look at the lap times relative to Borman, who's closing in now. 152.3 for Alan Smith, 150.1. So that's over 2 seconds a lap he's losing to the leaders. So this may not get Smith in contention for the top 3 necessarily, but it could allow him to close. If he can sort of stay within the pit window of Borman, Lane and Gutierrez, then it could get interesting the later we go into this one. There's a temptation to see the Acura being able to stretch at least 3 more laps than a Ben Borman, and maybe think that Ben has missed the trick here. But I think he's decided, given that he's leading the race, he's got clear air in front of him, at least for the most part until now, then it makes more sense to be able to use that pace to pull away from Tom Lane and just run the same strategy that Lane and basically everybody else apart from Smith and Van Gashoven are using. In fact, in comes Hubert Van Gashoven, which I assume is just a harbinger for his teammate Smith about to come in as well.
Yeah, Borman has pulled that gap down here as well. And Borman's doing a stellar job on times. You can see the last laps on the right-hand side there. Borman was about 2.5 seconds behind. Last lap times, he was 2.2 seconds quicker than Smith. Smith spilled into the pit lane. And once again, you can see them. Ben Borman takes the lead of the race, coming down into turn 1, and he's opened up a wicked gap at this moment in time over Tom Lane of about 15 seconds here, which is actually, quite monumental, Ross, for Ben Borman here as well. Can he really, though? He's not massively competing in the championship, and he's a bit further down than probably where he want to be. He's down in 7th. He's like 100 and something points away from Tom Lane. Can he really interrupt this championship, Ross, or will he have to go out and win Kota, win Fuji, win Road Atlanta, and the final 2 races of the season as well, which have been confirmed to Barcelona and Monza, by the way, on that one. Can he do it all there, Ross, to upset the championship, do we think?
Well, he can certainly upset it for other drivers who are competing, but as far as taking it for himself, it's not exactly plausible. I mean, it is possible. But I think right now it's just Ben's comeback tour after he suffered so much in terms of just scheduling conflicts, not having good hardware both on his computer and for his rig. And right now he's just enjoying finally being able to just drive the cars the way that he's intended to be able to show exactly the type of skill set he has. He's a statistician, he's a technician, he knows how to drive the cars, he's got the skills to put in great pace. He's just not really had the opportunity because he's just been stifled over time, and now's his chance to shine and just have some fun. So I think that's what he's doing, and he's putting on a show doing it.
Yeah, he is. He got a bit caught up there as well. Behind the GT3 AM leader, Matty Overton, there's a hypercar off the side of the track. That's Hubert Van Gashoven. runs wide off the side of the circuit, loses a bunch of time as well for him. But at the moment, Borman just loving racing, out in front by 15 seconds. 26 to Gutierrez, 53 to Dahlgren. Is this going to be one of the highest gaps to second place we may see this season? It's going to be an interesting one. We're going to find out how these battles evolve. Jerry Chen still leading George Angelidis by 3 seconds here at the moment as well. Chen doing a great job, jumped Angelidis in the pit stop, and away he's gone there. And there's Angelidis there, and Norm Graff tucked in behind him. Dan Kirby opening up the back of the gap there to Alan Holden by about 2.5 seconds. We did say at the beginning, though, Ross, is this going to be the last time Alan Holden will stare at the back end of that Porsche? And it's looking more and more likely as the race goes on.
Yeah, 100%. Like we were saying, there's so much concentration on being able to preserve the tires, and Dan Kirby has shown that he can be fast and conservative when it comes to his car resources. So it's right now Alan's just doing what he can to just maintain as much as he can and hope that maybe Dan Kirby gets caught up in some multi-class action, perhaps, that just stifles him a little bit. Maybe he's able to do something with some of his resource strategy on fuel later on. But I'm not sure if we're going to see it as he comes in.
Yeah, well, we'll find out how it goes here for Alan Holden, whether or not he's going to pull a trick over Dan Kirby. He is in pit lane at this moment in time. Paul Reyes is just about to go past him and take that second place here. Brian Hall should also clear him at the same time. There, Troy Uyan, big opportunity, is going to move up a position. Alan Holden is going to drop down to almost the back end, I think, of this field here in the GT3 Pros. He's down now behind David Junt. He's going down behind John Uyan as well. And Alan Holden just reaching his pit box there. How much of that, Ed, is going to affect Alan Holden, because he's dropped a long way back?
Well, he's the first of the LMGT3s to pit then, so it's understandable that he dropped near the back. I think Overton's coming in too, and I wouldn't be surprised if Darrell Kruger is going to do the same thing then. But that just tells us that the Lamborghini of Holden has used up more of his fuel and tyres than the opposition. Of course, he's the only Lamborghini in the field then. In pace-wise, it seemed to work out for him. He had to try something to keep Kirby in sight here. So the only hope now for Alan Holden, as Kruger does in fact go through, is that he can get the undercut here, get a new fresh set of tyres on, and try and close in on Kirby then for this next stint, and at least gain some of that time back. But I wouldn't be surprised if Kirby has a couple of quick in laps here and is able to maintain the gap, if not extend it.
Yeah, there's the vehicle list on the left-hand side there as well. You can see an Acura out in front of the Hypercar Pros with Ferrari and Cadillacs in behind him. We've got Porsches leading the GT3 Pros there as well, and a McLaren leading the GT3 AMs. In the Hypercar is the Porsche 963, a Jerry Chen leading that way as well. So a great mix of cars on that left-hand side that you can see there as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what car can come out on top. And at the moment, it's going to be Jerry Chen in that Porsche leading the field. Currently at this moment in time, we're going to find out whether or not he can stay there. What master stroke has he pulled over Angelidis, and how much further can he go? And did he underfuel to get the jump on George, or did George just had a rough one? That's going to be a question we'll find out a little bit later on. Big from Ed in the background there as well. What did you see, dear sir?
I saw Angelidis pushing like crazy and putting half the car on the grass out of the carousel there. So he had gained about half a second on Chen the previous lap. But yeah, really, the man in the 93 Acura is pushing like crazy, because that's how much George does not want to be a bridesmaid in this one. So maybe he doesn't know exactly what Chen has done strategically, and he's just going for broke out there at the moment. But yeah, I think Angelidis, if he can just keep closing on Jerry Chen, he might still be in a good position to maybe reassume the lead a bit later on strategy. As in come Ryan Pulbert-Reyes and Brian Hall in LMGT3.
Yeah, Angelidis was 3 tenths slower that lap than Jerry Chen. Jerry Chen was quicker there. So Angelidis going to try and keep that car on the racetrack. Dan Kirby in pit lane at the same time. So Dan Kirby going into pit lane here in the GT3 Pro class. Ross, this has all been mixing around. Now the pit stops are coming out away. Are we still going to see the likes of Kirby. He's leading the field now. It looks like Troy Uyan has not gone into pit lane and jumped himself up. Still 22 seconds back. It's all becoming a very pit stop strategy race.
Well, yeah, and I mean, Road America does play out that way. It's such a long track, and there's so much that you need to kind of stay focused on in terms of fuel strategy and just the way that you work the car. And, you know, I'm sure that tires and changing those out are going to become a bit of a factor here, especially kind of going back to that battle with Chen and Angelides. I know that George is going to just be pounding the snot out of his tires, trying to do what he can, as we saw earlier going through this section of the track. So I think that it's going to come down to some of those strategy where you have these cars kind of separating. Some of them we'll see kind of accordioning back together as the different strategies evolve. But we just kind of have to be patient and wait it out. We're not even halfway yet. We're probably about 10 laps away, and yeah, there's still a lot to be played for.
Yeah, there is. Troy Uyan now. They're going to peel into pit lane this time around. He's not. Matty Overton chasing down Daryl Kruger. He's about 17 seconds back. There is Matty there as well. David Junt in that Lexus, of course, won't be here next season. Will be replaced there. We'll find out whether or not what David Junt is going to do. It's great that he's in the Lexus. Unfortunately, he ain't going to be here next year. So we'll find out on that one what the situation will be. It's going to be very, very exciting indeed. Angelides has got the gap down to 1.6 seconds now, Ed. He's closing. Is he going to be able to overtake him though?
Well, let's hope we can give it a go and put on some entertainment for us then. But yeah, certainly there's a bit of traffic ahead which could play in Angelides' favour if it does distracts Jerry Chen just a little bit as he goes up the inside of David Yen in the foreground there. Through comes Angelides, just hang the rear out again through turn 5, but it didn't look like he lost too much there as he goes up into turn 6. Then you can see there it's Matthew Overton that is now holding up Jerry Chen himself then, but Matthew Overton has been very, very good at moving out of the way of everybody, even to the point of going completely off track. And he's only got one person to race against in class. I think Overton is pit, but Daryl Kruger is trying to extend the fuel tank in that McLaren 720S Evo, which is why he's still about 17 seconds ahead. Oh my goodness me, is that Angelides having to go the long way round at the carousel. Luckily, though, Overton saw it coming and left plenty of space, and now he's immediately got to deal with, is that John or Troy?
Troy.
It's Troy, yeah.
Yeah, Troy's in the blue, John's in the purple. Angelides loses about a second there on that passing of GT3 traffic over Jerry Chen. It was about actually 1.45 seconds he's lost here at Ross as well. Is his traffic management going to be a problem, or did he just unfortunately catch them in a bad place?
A bit of that, yeah. I mean, both he and Jerry tend to be pretty good around the GTs. They both have spent some time in them, so they're fairly understanding what the lines are and everything. They've got good IQs. We see Troy ducking in the background there, but yeah, just a bad spot for him. And I think that George is going to end up being a little bit more aggressive maybe with the traffic than Jerry. Jerry does have that buffer that he still managed to be able to hold off. I mean, that's just very impressive coming out of the pits to be able to get it like that. So yeah, traffic's going to make a difference here between that fight.
Yeah, it looks like the traffic's going to clear a lot of the way now as well. It's really going to be, where is Alan Holden going to come out? All the GT3s are in pit lane. You see Kirby, Uyan, Jun, and John and Troy, sorry. Both of them in pit lane. Holden's closing rapidly in through turn 12. He goes. How close is he going to be? He needs to nail this. He needs to get as close as he possibly can be to Dan Kirby, John Uyan, Troy Uyan, David Junt. See to where he comes out in conjunction, because this could either be the end of the GT3 battle or it's going to be the beginning of the GT3 battle. He's coming out of the pits now. Dan Kirby, where is Alan Holden? We're looking for the purple car to pop up over the hill at the moment. There he is. Kirby's not up to speed. Holden's going to run him down into turn number 1. How close is he going to get? Kirby's going through one out the other side at the moment, and it's still about 2.5 seconds, maybe a little bit more here, Ed. Not really a massive gain for Alan Holden, but has he laid a statement by telling Dan Kirby, look, I'm still here?
Yeah, I think he had to. The problem was that Holden, having put the car with more fuel in, was actually lapping a little bit slower than Dan Kirby at the end of that stint. So it was just as Holden was starting to get the tyres into the right operating window and was lapping, I think, about 2 or 3 tenths quicker than Kirby, that Kirby then immediately pit. So, yeah, that's why the gap is roughly the same as what it was before. But, yeah, there will still be that little bit of pressure on Kirby, and Kirby has dealt with it incredibly well, I think, so far, by not really making any visible mistakes in this battle against Alan Holden, who's being lapped by the race leader, Ben Borman. That's another thing he could have done without, but there's no stopping him there. Luckily, Borman has got that 20-second gap to Tom Lane then, so it will be a while before Holden has to let him through as well.
Yeah, I'm hoping from Holden's point of view, the traffic is nice to him. Let's just put it that way. Borman cleared Kirby without any issues. It's now currently 2.5 seconds from Kirby to Angelidis there, Ross. That was quite important for Holden, though. He had to stay within that 2.5 second gap, and he's just about managed to do that.
Yeah, I mean, this is great to see. You know, even though we're saying, you know, Alan is a bit of the David and the Goliath story here, I mean, he's doing a great job keeping that pressure on. He's not getting out of Kirby's rearview mirror, despite the fact that, you know, maybe that 992 is going to be a little bit better suited on this track. But I have to give props to Alan Holden, because knowing that Temerario and that it does tend to be just a little bit more squirrely, I would say, overall, he's doing a great job wheeling it around. So, you know, congrats.
He is at the moment. He's doing a stellar job. He's had that whole, I think he's been in that car pretty much the whole season. I can't remember a time when he wasn't in that car. But this is where it's going to get interesting now as well. Why is it getting interesting? Because Angelidis is back in traffic. He just got the car gap down to 1.4. That's going to be extending again here, because Jerry Chen's already on the straight and overtaking back markers. And at the moment, Angelidis has only just got back through. It seems a very weird moment for Angelidis there at the same time. He's kind of catching Chen, then they catch traffic, then he loses Chen, and then he's struggling to get back to him again for that 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, and you can see Chen has now just lapped Hubert van Gashoven as well, so that even the stragglers in Hypercar are starting to fall into their clutches. Because remember, Chen and Angelidis are fighting for 4th overall in the race then. So, yeah, it is interesting the way this is playing out. There's so many other cars that are falling into, not into their race, but into their clutches, essentially. And, yeah, Chen and Angelidis will have to deal with them as swiftly as possible. And you can tell this is sort of a nightmare scenario. In fact, Hubert van Gashoven immediately goes wide and deliberately lets Angelidis through as to not interrupt that battle for the AM class lead any further. So very sporting from Hubert van Gashoven, who of course is a lap down everybody else, but he's doing the same strategy that Alan Smith, his teammate, is doing. So he is hoping it will pay dividends later on. He can gain a few places on some of the mid-pack runners in the Hypercar class then. But yeah, it is Angelidis, as both you and Ross alluded to. He's having to take more risks to close the gap, whereas Jerry Chen just seems a little more relaxed and composed. But the gap now 1.3 seconds. So he's almost, even though Chen emerged about 3.5 seconds ahead at the pit stop, Angelidis has just chewed into that lead and has shown that the Acura is probably the better car to have at this moment in time.
Yeah, it does look a little bit more comfortable than Jerry Chen. His gap's down to 0.9. It's under a second. So let's see what goes on here in this Hypercar AM battle. There's only 7 points between these two. Of course, in the championship, is this going to be George Angelidis' moment? Can he take the lead in the championship? Is he going to be able to overtake Jerry Chen? Well, we're only going to find out very, very shortly, I'm sure. But it's 25 laps gone of this 60+1 race here. And at the moment, Jerry Chen and George Angelidis, it looks like the war's going to start here, Ross. Who's going to give that knockout blow before they go into the second half of this race?
I think this is going to go on for quite a while here between the two of them. We know that, like I said in the beginning, they're fierce competitors, and I know that Jerry's going to be doing everything he can to eye up what GT traffic is coming up. We see Miller up in front, who's several laps down still after his disconnect, and he's just going to do what he can to leapfrog and position around. He's got great racing IQ, and he knows that George does too. So, and that's not a great spot for him to catch him. But he might be able to get him just before the hurry downs, or maybe not. Not great for either one. But this is going to keep going just like this. George is going to be looking for every opportunity he can to catch Jerry out being slow and get his nose up inside of there and make the pass. But we'll see what it does as far as their strategy when they come around for the next set of stops, though. I think Jerry might have him on that pit strategy.
You know both of these drivers. Who's going to be the more composed in the car?
I would say probably Jerry overall. He tends to be a little less emotional, but we'll see if that has any impact on how the rest of this battle goes.
So in other words, George is a bit of a hothead and Jerry is nice, cool, calm and collective.
Well, he is Greek. I mean,
well, yeah,
he has that going against him.
Yeah, they do smash plates at weddings, so you know what I mean? I've seen the Big Fat Greek Wedding film, and that's exactly what he did. Now here we go again for these two into pit lane once more. On board with Jerry Chen, he got the car stopped there as well. Angelidis in behind him. Who's going to come out on top out of these two? There isn't a lot more at the moment going on in the race, so I do want to focus on these guys to see what goes on. Troy Uyan and Brian Hall are having a little bit of a battle. They're about half a second apart at this moment in time, but it's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top here, Ed, in this pit stop battle. I thought Chen might have underfueled, hence he got out quicker, but they're both pitting on the same lap. How's this one going to go?
Well, it depends who puts the most fuel in or not. In fact, they're almost occupying the same spot, and it's Jerry Chen that gets into the box first, much to Angelidis' frustration.
It's not that. He's parked across him.
Oh, dear. So, well, it's going to be difficult to escape then. At least he can see it in front of him. He's got plenty of warning, so he'll have to immediately reverse his, make a very tight turn to get out of this one.
Oh, surely he can swing that left. No.
He's having to reverse it. There we go. Well, he's lost maybe half a second, if that. So, in fact, Jerry Chen has negotiated that very, very neatly, as well as Tom Lane comes out just in front of him, interestingly enough.
Yeah, Tom Lane there comes out in just in front of these guys.
He's been jumped by Gutierrez as Lane.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's any drama for Lane. He's been pitting in and out, in and out, in and out. There's no real off tracks to take part in at the moment in time. A lot of pit stops taking place, but Jerry Chen is out in front of Angelidis, 1.6 seconds. Tom Lane further down here. Let me see if I've got anything. No, nothing at all for Tom Lane. He just must have had moments that hasn't picked up on here at all. But yeah, more in this hypercar AM battle. You can see there's Angelidis, there's Jerry Chen. They're going to continue to fight, I'm sure. Dan Kirby, Alan Holden. Holden has actually got the gap down to 1.9 seconds at the moment, from it being 2.6 at one point. Great job from Alan Holden here currently, so good job from him on that one. Brian Hall, as I say, battling away with Troy Uyan, and John Uyan is last of the field, but Alan Holden, Ross, getting the gap down to near enough below 2 seconds.
That's incredible. Yeah, he's doing a fantastic job keeping the pace up, keeping the pressure on Kirby. And I mean, it's difficult to say, you know, how much of it is they're getting Van Hoven, how much Kirby is maybe maintaining that gap himself while holding on to a bit of the car. I mean, we'll find out more as we get towards the end and how many more laps he's able to circulate around. But I think he's going to keep having that edge just in resource management, which is just going to confound Allen. But I mean, still, regardless of all of that, maintaining 2 seconds to Dan Kirby, even a conserving Dan Kirby, is a testament.
Absolutely. I think he's doing a stunning job. I really do, and I think this is really aiding Alan at the moment with confidence as well. Being able to keep Kirby this close, Ed, is got to be a great confidence booster for Alan Holden, surely.
Yeah, certainly. But of course, he did pit about 3 or 4 laps before Kirby, so he's surely going to have to come in before sooner rather than later, essentially, for that second stop. But the duty frees all trying to extend as much as possible, whereas the hypercars, some of them are going a bit more aggressive than others, as Dahlgren and Lalonde both exit the pits from their stop. The other thing that's happening, by the way, we have actually got a battle for the lead in LMGT3 AM, because Kruger, I believe, had a much shorter stop and has taken the lead, but he is basically having Overton taking about a second out of him per lap. You can just see Matthew Overton in the background there. So Overton, of course, has had to get out of the way for some of the hypercars and often taking to the grass in avoidance, and that's allowed Kruger, I think, to really take advantage of a bold strategy call here. So I'm interested to see how this works out, whether the McLaren can keep this up, or Overton, who definitely seems to have the pace on Kruger. Has he got the strategy, though?
Well, this would be a boost for the team standings in the GT3 AMS as well. Pinnacle Racing, Petrafsky and Kruger only 3 points back away from Dark Thunder of Barge and Overton. Now, obviously, I don't need to tell you that we haven't got Barge and we haven't got Petrafsky, but we have got Kruger and Overton, so that could all swap around going into the next round there, Ross, as well. These single car drivers at the moment of Kruger, of Overton, of Angelidis, of Chen, it's important for their own championship, but the teams is up for grabs here.
Yeah, it is very interesting pointing that out, that all the teams are still, or most of the teams are still in representation, even with a truncated field. And so it is kind of up to these single defenders to try and keep those points up. I know that Daryl Kruger, I mean, he's got good pace as far as an AM goes. And having raced him in some of the historic stuff, he knows how to put some laps together. So I don't think this battle's over. I think we're going to see him and Overton fighting all the way to the end. So yeah, good on them for keeping their team hopes alive. And it's a lot of pressure because you screw it up, those points are gone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tom Lane's just made a move on Gutierrez to P3, so
yeah,
there they are.
Alongside each other at the moment. Yeah. I think Lane, when we picked up on Lane earlier, Ed, and we said he was down the order, I think he pitted a little bit earlier. That's going to...
Wow.
That was committed, wasn't it?
Well, I thought Lane was going to hit the front end of Gutierrez, and he was going to end up spinning himself round at the moment, but Lane jumps up into third. Now, Alan Smith's having a great stint at the moment. We saw him go on, I think it was like 2 laps more than the leaders in front of him, and he's now put himself into a great second place. If he's pulled a master stroke, fair play to him, because he absolutely has smashed it out. Patience though, Alan, patience. I'm bigging you up. Don't go and take out Alan Holden, for God's sake, because that won't go so well for you. But he's pulled out a bit of a master stroke here, Ed, and put himself second overall.
Alan and Alan just don't take each other out, that's for sure. But anyway, Smith, he is, of course, lapping about 2 or 3 seconds a lap slower than Tom Lane behind him, who's about 18 seconds down the road. But, of course, it's not necessarily about where he is now. It's about where he's going to filter out once this sort of delta sort of filters out with all the pit cycles, essentially. Because the idea, what Smith is trying to do, is make sure he does 1 less pit stop overall in the race than Borman, Lane, and Gutierrez, essentially. So while Lane and Gutierrez have been fighting each other and putting on a great show, that in itself could play into Smith's hands. Although having said that, Lane, since passing Gutierrez, is now in the 1 minute 50.6s, so lapping about 3/10 faster than Borman, who was absolutely pulling away in that previous stint by about half a second, 7/10 per lap at points. So, yeah, this could still work out for Smith, but you can tell the reason he's going slower is because he's saving fuel in the braking zones.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at this coming in at the moment, down to 1.7 seconds. Alan Holden pulling in Dan Kirby. I wouldn't ever thought that them words would come out of my mouth, but Alan Holden was 2 tenths quicker than Kirby last time around, and is doing an absolute stellar job here, Ross. Has Holden had his Weetabix this afternoon, or what?
I mean, he's doing a great job. I mean, it is going to come back to what the pit strategy is going to do with it, because I think that in this case, it really is Kirby is maintaining his resources, and he's keeping an eye back there, and you can see it in the attitude of the car, and I think we're going to see it also mirrored in some of his times. But if he starts getting too close, I think Dan will kind of do what he needs to in order to keep that gap and keep Alan hunting and hungry, because that's going to do what it needs to kind of wear his car down.
Oh, so we're not sitting here saying Kirby's playing with his food?
Well, I don't want to give Kirby too much credit, but I mean, he's also got some pretty good race IQ, and he knows how to treat his competition in order to make sure he takes maximum advantage. So I would say it's likely that he's probably doing that strategy.
Oh, for God's sake. Go, Alan Holden. Beat him. That's it. I'm a Holden fan from now on there, Ross, after you said that as well. I do like Dan Kirby, but don't play with your food and give up me false hope here this evening on a Saturday. God blimey, I don't want to be doing that, as Gutierrez is going to clear these guys as well.
Angelidis just passed Chen for the AM lead.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what happened there. I'm trying
Must have been into
to
turn
find,
one.
Yeah, I'm struggling to go back a little bit further on that one to figure out what went on that one. But Jerry Chen, they were very close, mind you, Ed. They were down to about 1.2. So if Chen's got in and dived a little bit late, then that could explain.
Oh, he's going to try it again.
Get through. Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Wow.
Chen was 1.5 seconds slower last time around over Angelidis. I think this is going to be, for me, although Angelidis has got in front of Chen, I wonder how Angelidis is going to react if Chen gets back in front. And has Chen really got the pace, though, Ross, to get back in front of him? I don't want to give George props because his head is big enough as it is, but he does look a little bit quicker than Jerry Chen this afternoon.
Well, as of right now, I think probably overall you're right. Although I would not make a bet at this point in time on either one of them because both of them show they can be strong in various spots. And obviously, door to door, they're pretty on top of their game. So I think it's going to come down a lot to do with how the chips fall with traffic, and if one of the other one is going to be able to force a mistake.
Oh, Chen, you're too patient, son. He's going to open up the bit of a gap on you now. It's 1.4, clears Alan Holden. Angelidis has got stuck behind Dan Kirby through the final corner. He's going to now make a run on him there as well. Angelidis out in front of Jerry Chen. Now, the interesting thing for me, there's now battles in 3 classes taking place right now. We've got this Hypercar AM battle 1.3 apart. Kirby and Holden, if Kirby's playing with
2.5 apart.
2.5 if he's playing with food. And then we've got Kruger and Overton, where Overton is literally now on the back end of Darrell Kruger. So this is a great race for us, Ed, but manic for me because we've got to try and figure out which battle is going to be the best one.
I know, and the money is coming to this here, but yeah, it is. It's definitely Overton trying to take back control of the race, and Kruger on this gamble here as he actually has the hypercar going up the inside of him as they go through the kink at turn 11 there. And another one that looks like Norm Graff coming through. Graff has had his fair share. I think Graff has had to make another stop at some point because he was running third in AM. Oh, and it hits! Oh, he hits Darrell Kruger from the outside. That is not ideal for either of them, but Matthew Overton will gratefully go through with 30 laps to go. And yeah, that was it all opened up for him there. But poor Darrell Kruger, I think, will feel a bit aggrieved at that one.
Oh, I've got to do it this way because I want to see where the contact lies. I'm sorry for the dodgy. Oh, Graff.
Yeah, he squeezed him a bit.
A bit? A bit? He squashed him like poor old Kruger was an orange in a juicer, Ross. Look at him. He just comes straight over. Bonk. There you go. That ain't a bit,
to
Ross
be
Smith.
fair, while he didn't give him as much room, you can see Darrell Kruger. He had, because of that narrow entry, he ended up. I don't think he wound up as much as he probably needed to in order to keep from going out. The angle of the car was kind of in a bad spot, so it was. Norm probably should have given him a bit more room, but yeah, just it's an unfortunate situation. But Darrell Kruger now has to climb back up. It's fortunately not too far away though.
Do you want to evaluate the gap that the Graff had on the outside compared to what Kruger had on the inside, Ross?
I'm not saying he didn't squeeze him. I'm just saying that the angles don't lie.
Yes, Norm Graff, too close.
You two are right. I can just sit here and listen rather than giving any opinion myself.
This is how it goes most of the time, Ed, when it's me and Ross up here. Yeah, come and join us on this one as these guys still battling away in the Hypercar AMs on that one. That has absolutely done me 3 class battles out of the window. Kruger's now 3.2 back over Kirby and Holden 2.4. Angelidis and Chen, this is about as close as we're going to get. Alan Smith in the pits comes out in 5th place, I believe, in class, which is 7th overall. So Smith now behind Chen and Angelidis, behind Magnus Dahlgren, but he has taken an earlier stop by the looks of it than these guys as well, Ed, which is a bit weird.
It's a later stop. It's a later stop. This is his 2nd stop that he's just done. So he's because remember, Smith has been extending the entire race. So this has worked for him because he was, I think, behind Lalonde earlier, and by doing this, he's actually been able to essentially kind of overcut him and stay roughly within touching distance of Dahlgren. But of course, the big thing is when we get to that final lap, will he have enough fuel, having saved as much as he has, to not have to do that final pit stop that everyone else will have to do? And maybe that could be enough to get him potentially second or third, depending on the lap times relative to Lane and Gutierrez then. I think Lane will be difficult, but Gutierrez maybe is possible, because Tom Lane has pulled about a 5.5 second gap to Johnny Gutierrez.
I'm going to ask a question here, Ross. Is 2 laps per stint saving fuel enough to cut the third one out? The last one out?
I don't believe so in this case. I think
you might be able to save 3 laps if he really banks off there.
That would be an awful lot of sacrifice on track. The pit stops here, unfortunately, are just not long enough, like you see in the 1981 historics, where fuel rates are under a liter per second. Or sorry, they're 0.8 something per liters per second. So very slow. You're in the pits for a really long time. So saving fuel on track makes a lot more difference. Here, you're probably going to catch maybe 5 to 10 seconds most that you can bank away. I just don't know that it's going to be enough to really make a big difference come those last stops. They might be able to improve their position a little bit, maybe take some less fuel to put a little less stress on their tires, but I think the gaps are big enough at this point, at this phase in the race, that it's not really going to give them much return.
Yeah, I did wonder whether or not he was going to be able to, as we jump on to Angelidis there as well, as he's got Jerry Chen tucked in right behind him. There is Jerry. Still trying to chase him down here, still trying to close that gap down. It's been a very interesting gap. It's been fluctuating from 1.2 to 1.7. I think we're at the max of about 1.7 now. Kirby's opened up, he's stepped on the pedal, he's 3.3. Oh, George, don't take out a blinking Kruger again, for God's sake, in the same corner. That will be dramatic for Darrell Kruger there. No, does manage to go through. Kruger manages to survive this time, Ross, because he hasn't got Norm Graf on the outside.
Yeah, these guys, I think overall they're going to be a little bit more mindful of the traffic than Norm can be, or has proven to be at times. He is Norm, and it's one of those things in this multi-class racing, you have to understand who you're around, because even when you do have the right of way and whatnot, I mean, it's just like on the highway. It's like, yeah, you pulled into my lane, but here we are both with wrecked cars, and you just have to make the decision on what's going to affect your race the least, I guess.
Absolutely. Well,
I have to say, by the way, I love how in the chat, Glove Pup is written, "Come on, Ross, do better." It's like they're not upset with Norm in that collision. They're upset with you, Ross, for basically having to go.
Paul? Yeah, it's Paul.
Yeah,
it's Paul with it.
Paul Glover.
On that one, so I think I don't know when he wrote that actually, Paul, but let us know what you meant on.
This is the problem when you're a driver turned commentator. They'll treat you like you're in the race and responsible for what other people do.
You see the pit stops on the left-hand side there. 2s for the Hypercar AMs and Hypercar Pros, 1 for the GT3s. Currently at this moment in time, the position gained and lost for the top 5 coming up now. You can see on that one, Lane up 1, Gutierrez down 1. In the AMs, Angelidis Chen up 1 as well. Concalves up 2, and Gratis is down 3, partly because the Gratis was starting up by pole position. So he's dropped down the order after his earlier incident. So keep an eye on that one and see how we go here as well. But at the moment, Angelidis and Chen still fighting out in the Hypercar AMs there, Ed. Still battling away nicely.
Yeah, you can tell both of them tensing up whenever they approach the traffic. But yeah, as you say, it's nip and tuck between them. Sometimes Chen will gain a couple attempts, and sometimes Angelidis will gain a few. So there's very little to choose between them in each sector, let alone each lap, of course. So if Chen can keep the pressure up, he could be able to force Angelidis into a bit of a mistake. But Jerry Chen, we did see him gain at the first set of pit stops. And we did see them playing almost a little game when they came in. Unintentionally, I think Angelidis' box was right in front of Chen's, wasn't it? So Chen did have to reverse. And he'll feel that cost him maybe half a second or a second at most, maybe. But Chen actually dealt with it pretty well in the end and avoided bumping into the back of George and just taking him out in the pit lane.
Yeah, the interesting thing now, I was just watching their time gap, and it's come down to 1.3. Paul was referring to Kirby playing Holden earlier on. That was a long while ago. Sorry, Paul, for missing your message on that one. Didn't see it when he come up. And he's in reference to Kirby playing Holden. I think that was where I had a bit of a moment at you, Ross, about the fact that I thought Holden was just doing rather well, rather than Kirby playing with his food. But this is the closest battle on the racetrack at this moment in time. Everybody else is a bit more spread out. Kirby now 4.4. Holden, Overton and Kruger now 5.4. We did obviously see the incident there, unfortunately for Kruger, with Norm Graf. Angelidis and Chen teetering around about the 1.7 second mark currently at the moment. Holden in pit lane again, stopping earlier than Dan Kirby. We'll see whether or not that makes a massive difference on him here as well. Angelidis, unfortunately, is going to catch his car going down into Canada corner. Is he going to dive up the inside? Yes. And John saw him there as well and allowed him to go through. But that could have been very, very hairy there, Ross, for George Angelidis.
Yeah, I mean, they know each other. I mean, obviously, they're both working on the mods. John Uyan being the chief tester and everything for it. So, I mean, they know how they are. John's not really in any position right now to do anything. I mean, I know he's sort of been out of whack with some of the racing stuff. He's been very busy doing some life things, so he hasn't had much sim time, unfortunately. But yeah, they're gonna stay out of each other's hair, I think, for this. And you know, he's opened up this gap here on Jerry. And I think that pit stop did a little bit of damage here, because now Jerry's away from him. He's not able to really get that slipstream on some of these longer straights, which he really needs in order to kind of minimize that top end disadvantage that he has relative to the Acura. So I think that he really needs traffic to come in and hinder George, so that way he can really maximize his ability through the sector too.
Well, you may wish, you may get. As there's two GT3s in front, the Lexus of David Shunt, and that's Troy Uyan in behind him. These guys very close on the racetrack with each other. They're in their own race. Angelidis is going to dive up the inside of one. Is he going to get the second? No. He's got to sit and wait. He's now got to shoot around the outside here. And he does manage to... Go on, George. How'd you go, son? Does manage to make it past him. It's a little bit easier for Jerry Chen, though. Chen's going to catch him coming out of that corner. Can get the run down here as well. In through Canada corner. In through, where are they? At the kink at the moment. So Kink and Jerry Chen does make it through a little bit easier than George did. But that gap now out of 4 seconds compared to the 1.6 it was coming into them 2 bits of traffic there as well. So George looks like he's giving himself a little bit of a buffer. Daryl Kruger's taken the lead in the GT3 AMS. That's due to the fact that Matty Overton has gone back into pit lane. Props to Stephen Miller. I want to give Miller a shout. He had a disconnect earlier on, and he's now 4 laps down from the leaders, but he has stayed in the race. And why not, Ross? Because at the end of the day, there's only 3 of them, and he's still going to get points.
Yeah. I mean, it's so frustrating whenever you have those technical issues. You know, it's not you pushing too hard or anything like that. This is going to get a little bit hairy with Overton coming out of the pits. Uyan, better part of Valor, takes that discretion, stays behind Yunt. But you're right. You know, props to Stephen Miller. You know, sticking with it. You know, just if nothing else, getting some seat time and staying behind the wheel and keeping pressure. You can still get points. You can still advance in the championship if something else happens to these guys in front of them.
Yeah, well, here's the battle now as well. This is Troy and David Shunt running down here into turn number 5. Troy was looking at the outside. Shunt's positioned his car where Troy has got nowhere to go. This is a nice little battle down in the GT3s. This is down, I think it's, was it 5th and 6th or 4th and 5th in class at the moment. Battling away here, Ed, and coming together tooth and nail.
Yeah, of course, it's not just them having to let the hypercars through and staying apart. You can tell here that Troy Uyan fancies a go at the Lexus of David Yunt, and these two have crossed swords a number of times before. Yunt lets the rear absolutely hang out through the hurry downs at turn 8, and now through the carousel they come. What as Goncalves also is coming into the pits in Hypercar AM. What I was going to say about Stephen Miller as the Lexus of Yunt throws a bunch of grass into the windscreen of Troy Uyan, sorry. What I was going to say about Stephen Miller was that he's actually been outpacing Daryl Kruger in the GT3 AM lead now that Overton's pit, and he's got a faster lap than both of them then. So Miller, pace-wise, obviously he's a couple laps down and we're over halfway through the race, but I still think Miller has actually shown a really impressive drive, and it's a really case of what could have been had he not had that disconnection But Oyen, though, as they go through the Bill Mitchell bend, just absolutely hanging out and trying to put Davidian under pressure. This will be another great chance as they crest the hill down the start-finish straight once again. And it looks like Oyen is trying to get the Porsche up the inside into turn 1, and that's exactly what he does there, as you see a couple more hypercars. That's Angelidis and Chen pitting beside them. But yeah, there we go. No chance there for Davidian to stop Troy Earn, who just looks so much quicker down the start-finish straight.
Who'd have thought a Porsche GT3 would have outrun something on the racetrack, hey? Who'd have put that one in the same category this afternoon, knowing that the Porsche GT3 speed is not ideal? But there we go. Chen and Angelidis. Oh, look at Jerry Chen this time. He's like, nope, you're not doing it to me again. He's parked his car to the side of Angelidis. Angelidis gets on his way quicker than Chen. Oh, no, Jerry.
That's huge.
Jerry.
Oh. He was about a second and a half behind, so he's lost a lot of time here. Either he's changing tyres or there's maybe something more serious at play here.
I think you're right. I think it's tires.
No, it's got to be, innit? It's got to be. He's just lost an absolute bunch of time. Angelidis is on his way down through the Moraine sweep into 5. Chen's just coming out of 1. That's a massive gap for Jerry Chen and George Angelidis. We'll let it settle down, but at the moment it's coming up as 17 seconds, which is absolutely huge. Kruger's now in pit lane. Where? Oh.
Matthew Overton.
Oh
no. Almost right back onto the track.
He must have had some kind of collision, maybe a Canada water bend. A Canada corner, sorry. Canada Water's a tube station.
No. Oh, hold on. Let's see if I can pick up on this.
Has he ran out of fuel?
No,
he's been hit in the back by a Cadillac. Oh, and Borman as well. Borman. I thought Borman was coming in a bit early, but yeah, a dramatic collision there. The two Brits hit each other. Or was Overton American? Sorry.
A Canadian.
Well, close enough.
What has he done? Because he was very, very slow.
He was. I think you might have been right saying,
there you go.
There we go. Yeah, that did the damage.
Yeah, then he's trying to get back on there as well. He is bouncing.
Oh, yeah, you can see
at this point.
Broke. Look at that.
Oh, that's bad.
Poor old Matty Overton is absolutely smashed up. And then on this one, he gets hit there. Is that...
It's Borman,
Is that George? He's just hit.
No, not George. That was...
Gratius, wasn't it? Or Dean Clark? It's one the Cadillac. I think it might be Clark here.
Clark, yeah.
Yeah, but Borman, crucially, has got a lot of damage, and he's had a much longer pit stop as a consequence. So he's come out just behind Johnny Gutierrez. So all of a sudden, Tom Lane is in the box seats, and Borman, through no fault of his own, he's got a lot of work to do if he wants to take 2 wins in a row now. So it shows he can just change in the blink of an eye. But Borman was absolutely blameless in that one. He just arrived, and there was a GD3 with horribly bent steering and a Cadillac kicking the back of it in front of him.
Yeah, that's... Ross, I don't want to say that Matty Overton has made the wrong decision trying to drive that car back, right? But opinion would have it, looking at what's just happened and the carnage that is just caused in the process, would you say Matty Overton was wrong trying to get that car back?
I would not. Every single driver who's gone through that kind of situation where they have broken steering or something is going to work back. Just through this part of the circuit, you're coming around that corner, you're unsighted, and you're thinking about this section here. You want to get a good exit and line up for that kink. So when there's a car suddenly there on the driving line going way slower, you have very little time to react. And if there's somebody in front of you blocking your view like it was for Ben Borman, you have even less. And so I think in that case, it was just, the worst kind of scenario that you can have in that position. So really no fault of his own. I mean, he was trying to stay to the inside and not be in the way on that exit. I think that was probably why he was tucked in like that. And unfortunately, he just was not seen. It's just shame.
We just had a moment with Norm Graff here as well. Get yourself up to coming down into Canada corner. Oh, where are you going?
Well, he's not going into Canada corner, clearly.
No.
He's going on to the next circuit.
Yes, it's clear.
Here we come.
Oh, there's the steering.
Brakes, ladies and gentlemen. Poor old, looks like Norm Graff hasn't got any, but he's now
poor
back
Norm.
out. Yeah,
That's only the second worst thing that's happened to him at Canada Corner, though.
Well, yeah, I suppose the first one was poor old Darrell Kruger, but
Although Kruger won't mind because his main rival is taking himself out of event essentially with that crash, and Miller may even have a chance at him given how long Overton's in the pits for repairs here. So Kruger now just has to stay out of trouble.
Yeah, Kruger can win this. Stephen Miller can take maybe not.
He'll need Overton to have another crash, won't he?
Yeah, he'll need Overton to have more damage there, unfortunately. Let's hope that doesn't. I'm not praying that on Matty at all, because obviously, no, just no. Let's not go down that road there. And Matty does manage to keep himself out of trouble. However, Tom Lane, with that incident for Ben Borman, Ross has now jumped to the top of the Hypercar Pros.
Yeah, and this is what you never bank on anything going into one of these endurance races, because you can just have a single moment like that. I mean, that's why I keep saying with the fight with Alan Holden and Dan Kirby, I mean, we've kind of made the metaphor about playing with your food, but I mean, Alan Holden is definitely a weapon and not somebody that you would disrespect like that. But I mean, even if you're maintaining a reasonable gap and managing your race, it doesn't mean that somebody else can't come along and ruin your day for you like we just saw. So Tom Lane's in a good position. I think he's been holding on to his car. We saw him pull down the order before, but how things can change.
Holden just took nearly 2 seconds a lap out of Kirby that last lap around. So this undercut strategy, it's aggressive. It's going to be interesting to see what it does to Holden on fuel when we get to the end of the race. But there's a good chance he could get very close to Kirby when Kirby has to pit in a couple laps time.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye out.
Did he take tires
on that one? I don't know.
That's a big gap, it seems, but maybe they were just the rest of the field was there.
If he did, he didn't take it on the first one, did he? If he's taking it on the second one,
remember, he's done his second stop, hasn't he? But so is Paulbert Ray's in front of him, who's 4 seconds up the road then. So Paulbert Ray's was about 5 to 6 or 7 seconds behind him, wasn't he, before this phase of pit stop? So Paulbert Ray's has sort of overcut him.
Yeah, we'll see.
I think he took tires.
Yeah, he must have done on that one. But that wouldn't be a surprise, though, Ross. They are quite deep into the race. We've only got 19 laps to go. You know, is that really a surprise that a Lamborghini under the hands of Alan Holden has had to take tires?
Not at all. For as hot as it is, and for as long and hard as these laps are, I mean, you're really pushing these cars. I mean, like turn one here, for example, I mean, you're really leaning on it. Obviously, the carousel, I mean, all that sector too, you're pushing the car around so much. I'm actually impressed that any of the drivers are able to double stint these in the GTs for as soft as those tires are. It's just, yeah, good on them.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that Holden has taken tyres there. We'll see how he comes out in the end. I think this is the problem, Ed. We can predict as much as possible, but until we get into that final sector... Oh, Overton on the grass again. Until we get into that final sort of 5 minutes of this race, or a couple of laps, we're never going to really know where Holden's going to come out here. This is a bit of an off-strategy that he's kind of pulled here.
Yeah, and the problem is now that he has... Brian Paulbert Ray's on the other strategy, having done his stop, is now ahead of him. So he's sort of trying to follow Ryan Paulbert Ray's rather than following Dan Kirby. Kirby is pitting now, so we'll have to see if Kirby is going to change tyres as well. Now he's doing his second stop. Yeah, it could be really, really interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if Oyen, Yunt, John Oyen, if they all come into the pits now as well at the same time. Yeah,
we'll keep an eye just on Dan Kirby, whether or not that car's going to go up here or not.
Borman has closed Gutierrez quite a lot in this stint. Look, 151.3. Gutierrez 154.4. So there might be a bit of traffic holding Gutierrez up, but Borman seems to be driving like a man possessed, and he's definitely actually getting 3/10 quicker than Tom Lane in the lead at the moment then. So he's certainly going to be taking risks to catch back up and get himself back on the podium, at least at the moment, although we know Smith is on that different strategy. So it might not be that Borman has to overtake Smith. It might be he has to overtake Gutierrez and then push like crazy to catch Tom Lane before the end of the race.
But isn't that, though, Ross, right up Borman's alley, isn't it? To push as hard as possible?
Yeah. Still, coming out after that kind of incident, even if it didn't have a whole lot of damage from it, I mean, it definitely shakes your confidence. And now you're suddenly, you know, you're sitting back cruising with your strategy, and suddenly you have to react, and it's like, you know, how quickly can you rally yourself to make sure you take advantage? It's certainly on right now as he's closed into the back of Gutierrez. He will be putting the pressure on as hard as he can. We're going to see if he can pull a masterstroke out of it, though.
Yeah, well, we'll see how far Ben Borman can go. Is he going to be able to get there as well? Pulls out, lets him have a little bit of a dummy. Miller's coming out of pit lane now. Borman's looking again, nothing doing into one. How's he going to do on the run down the hill? Under the bridge we go, down into turn number 3. Borman's looking again. No, nothing this time. This is going to be a turn 5 run here, Ed, I think, for Ben Borman.
Yeah, you can see the Cadillac just struggling to stay on track through turn 3, side by side on the long run through the moraine sweep then, and it looks like Borman is already ahead before they get to the braking zone then. So Gutierrez, I don't want to say was a sitting duck, but there wasn't a whole lot he had in response to the awesome pace of Borman there, as there's a lapped car just getting out of the way uphill into turn 6. It's one of the Cadillacs. I think that may be I think that's Gratias that was just letting them through there, the yellow and black one.
Yeah, it was. I think on there. There was Chad letting them go through here, but this is going to be
and Graf has taken advantage as a consequence to overtake him for position there in AMS. So the Norm Graf comeback seems to be on.
Yeah, I think he got caught out there, didn't he, by letting them go through, and Graf was like, hey, I'm having some of that, and through he goes. So, you know, it is what it is. Norm Graf making the most of a situation. Now Borman going again here.
Oh! How did he save that one?
Big
Quick
slide.
hands.
Yep. He's looking up the inside now as well. That's Gashoven. Needs to clear Gashoven. Gashoven could do a job here. If he can hold Borman up, at least
I think that's Smith. It's not Gashoven, it's Smith for position here.
Oh, I thought he was a bit further away than that, but that is Alan Smith. Can Borman then get second place? And how can he actually get to Tom Lane?
I think he's got the pace to do so. The problem is that Smith is on that different strategy, so he's only going to be holding him up the longer he stays behind. Side by side they go, and you can tell here Smith is grateful to just have another car that he could just save fuel behind and lift and coast a little bit here. So Smith held him up just for the final sector of the lap there, and now Borman is on his way and continuing to, even with being held up by Smith there, he was a second a lap quicker than Tom Lane here. So 12 seconds, and we got what 15 laps to go or so, don't we? Or it might be more than that.
There's 16.
16, there we go.
16 with the one they're on. So we'll see how close
I think it's doable.
I think if he carries on like this, Ross, I think it's going to be hard to bet against him, isn't it?
I mean, we're coming in, we're under 20 laps to go. 12 seconds. I mean, I'm sure Tom Lane is going to be putting on the smoothest race he possibly can at this point. He's already losing some gap. I'd be interested to see what their times are once they've had sort of their own clean track. They're not racing against directly with a competitor. I think that's going to kind of give us a setup for this final stint.
Well, we'll have to see how quick that gap can come down here for Ben Borman. How quick can he get it down? There's going to be, I think he's got one more stop at least to make here. How close is this going to be for Ben Borman? There's Matty Overton in front of us. Please don't take him out. Going down into Canada corner. Overton, give him the inside, sunshine.
He did. He did.
He did, after taking himself off the side of the racetrack as well, unfortunately for Matty. There's Alan Smith now tucked in behind him. Smith's going to want to try and clear him into 14 if he can. There you go. Through goes Smith, but no dramas for him. Gutierrez is just on the cusp as well. He's going to catch Overton in a nicer place as Smith and Borman did, and through goes Gutierrez. So this is a Borman, Smith, Gutierrez fight, but how far can Borman go, and whether or not he can get all the way up to Tom Lane is down to 10 seconds, down to 9 seconds nearly here as well, Ed. Is it possible?
Yeah, Tom Lane quite badly held up by GD3 traffic there, so 2.7 seconds gain by Borman on that lap alone, according to my timing screen there. I think it's definitely possible, but if Tom Lane can find something and just keep Ben at bay before they get to the last couple of laps, then we might be in for a bit of a photo finish then. But yeah, Borman is keen to just decimate the gap so that Lane doesn't have any time to react whatsoever or prepare anything in response. Holden, by the way, is right behind Ryan Paul-Reyes in the fight for P2 and GD3, which you can just see, I think, going on in the background. There's Paul, and they're holding up Gutierrez now.
I don't know if he held him up or his slide held him up, but either way,
Oh.
Goody Harris. Oh, no, 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 no. Oh.
All fair, all good.
Oh, gee whiz, that was close. Holden's now going to try and climb all over Paul Reyes here. He's got
It's
a
gratuitous.
Oh, how'd you go? Go on, son. Right. Now, Holden's run down into Canada corner. He's tucked in. Is he too close to Paul
boy.
Reyes?
Oh.
Yeah.
He's going in the wall if he's not careful. Oh my goodness me. Holden was committed, but maybe a little too committed. That's cost him a bit of time.
Wow. I thought they were going to follow each other off at one point there as well. Paul Reyes went off, Holden went off, and I thought this was all going to be dramatic, and that was going to be the end of it. That was a great little fight. Holden looks like, Ross, he's got the bit between his teeth here, and he's having a right old barnstormer out there.
Yeah, that was incredibly close. It's interesting because I'd kind of been keeping my eye on Ryan Paul Reyes throughout the race, and he'd just sort of been, kind of floating in the background, just doing his own thing. And now here he is. He's positioned himself in a great spot to try and take advantage and maybe get himself up there towards the end. And another one that's been doing kind of the same thing is Vinicius Gonçalves, who's up there in third place. He's a ways away from the top fight that Hypercar am, but he's really doing a good job holding on to that podium position right now.
He is at this moment in time, but for how much longer, that's going to be the question here. Is Reyes going to keep hold of that second place in that Porsche, or is Helena Holden got too much in that Lamborghini? This is going to be the question. We'll keep an eye on this one as it goes as well. Holden, of course, was fighting for Kirby for the win. Where is he going to be towards the end of this one for Alan Holden? Once more, it's going to be very, very close. Paul Reyes, where you gone, son?
Oh, cooked it.
Too deep into 5. Holden's got to run up the hill. Through he goes. Holden gets that second place. Now the question here, Ed. Oh no, Reyes is sliding his back end as well. Is this where Holden just motors on now?
I would assume so, given the pace that he's got to deploy there. But of course, he's on a different strategy to Ryan Paul Reyes as well. He's having to pit much earlier. So he needs to build the gap just to make sure. Oh my goodness, is that Jerry Chen trying to go up the inside of Holden through the carousel there? Holden, I don't think, appreciated that very much as the Lamborghini sliding around as he gets it back under control. So both him and Paul Reyes having issues as the hypercars come through to lap them. You saw for Paul Reyes, he tried to go all on the outside at turn 5 and ended up just being finding nowhere to go and being sent off into the runoff area, luckily, he could rejoin from. So these two really struggling, but yeah, I think Holden, I don't think he's going to be able to catch Kirby. He's 8 seconds up the road. Him having to fight Ryan Paul Reyes has sort of allowed Kirby to just disappear into the distance, essentially. But Holden could maybe close the gap a little and pull away from Reyes, and that could really help him strategically, as in comes Alan Smith. That promotes Gutierrez to third, and Chad Gratius is also in.
Realistically, Ross, knowing what this man is like, was Holden... Okay, so is Holden in with a chance of catching him, or do you think seconds about as far as this man's going to be able to get?
If everything stays as it is, then I think he's kind of lost touch too much with Kirby. But you can't ever say that in one of these races. I mean, we've got more than a dozen laps left to get to the end here. So, and they're long laps. We've already seen all kinds of things that have shuffled the grid. So you can't lay your cards down yet and call it, especially when you see him locking up like that. Both of these drivers going down in these corners, you can tell that they're kind of pushing the cars right to the end. And I will say, for that Moraine sweep corner, the one they just came through at turn 5, and the end of the Kettle Bottoms going down to Canada corner, it's very deceptive from these camera angles, just the way the cars move around. But when you're in there and you've got hypercars coming around you, they're at maximum pace, maximum closing speed. It is so difficult for both of the types of drivers, from the hypercars and the GTs, to judge where they're going, just because there's enough bend in the road and everything. So we kind of hold our breath when we see it, and it seems sudden, but you got to kind of take a care for them, because it's almost even more so for them, because you think they're on one side of the road and then they're on the other, and you've got maybe a millisecond to kind of think about what you want to do. So props to the drivers for being able to do what they've been able to do throughout this race and not really have too many incidents that way.
Yeah, there's only been, well, 2 that I can think of inter-class sort of incidents, really. Obviously, Darrell Kruger's with Norm Graff, and then we have Matty Overton with Ben Borman and somebody else behind
Dean Clark, wasn't it?
Dean Clark, that was it. Thank you, Ed, for actually being able to remember things where clearly mine doesn't. On that one, I think they're the only 2 in the class sort of fight incidents that we've seen here, Ed, and I think overall, considering the nature of Road America and the fast bits that it has got, I don't think that's too bad at all.
Yeah, especially as we still got all 23 cars running, luckily with Miller being able to return, of course. Yeah, I was just looking at the Borman lane gap. Borman has been taking between 2 and 1.7 seconds per lap out of Tom Lane here. So at this rate, he's going to catch Lane before the final pit stops here. So it's just putting Lane under more and more pressure here. Borman, you can tell, is just absolutely loving this, and it's just really dancing in that Acura around Road America here as they go through Bill Mitchell Bend. And yeah, Lane is got to find a response sooner rather than later. Is it maybe a strategy here for Tom Lane to pit earlier than ideally wanted, just so that he can get the fresh tyres on and try and undercut Borman to build the gap back up again, and then worry about defending the lead later? Or has he just got to stick it out for as long as he can and hope he can keep Borman behind now?
I don't know, being the fact that Borman's just took out 1.7 seconds out of Lane. That is a very quick 9 seconds that have come down here. But is this the reason why, because of Tom Lane's traffic situation, as to why Borman's managed to catch up so quickly here?
Borman's still on the hards as well,
Yeah,
whereas Tom
so-
Lane on the mediums.
I'm a little bit worried at the fact that Lane has lost a chunk of time, and I believe there's still one more pit stop to go. This is going to be very close, isn't it, Ed, here between these 2?
And of course, the other thing that happened is that Borman, having had to pit off sequence to repair the damage, has now a little bit of a fuel disadvantage relative to Tom Lane here as well. So Lane has got a bit of flexibility. He's still got the lead, but not for much longer if he gets held up like that by Stephen Miller. Now Borman is all over him like a cheap suit now as they approach the carousel.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with a cheap suit. Good old
No, I didn't say there was anything wrong. It's a saying.
That pretty
Oh, look at this! Onto the grass goes Tom Lane.
Oh my goodness.
Lane is all over the place here, trying to stay in front of Borman. That Ferrari and that Acura seems to be on different levels. Borman now looking up the inside. No, not this time around. Lane holding on in through Canada corner they go. There's more traffic up front. Lane's got to do traffic a little bit more cleanly here, Ross. Otherwise, this lead's going to last for about another half a lap.
Well, I think I think Tom Lane is counting his blessings that he's got all-wheel drive. I don't think you could have done that in any of the other cars. Managed to pull out of the grass and still stay ahead. That was insane.
Yeah, absolutely. Now Borman's tucked in. You see him closing. Lane's giving him no defense at all. Borman's going to take the lead of the race. What a recovery from Ben Borman. At one point, it was 9.6 back. He's pulled out 1.7 per lap, going over the last 4 laps here, and has got that gap down to nothing, and then takes the lead. And Borman's now through here over Tom Lane. How is this going to affect Tom Lane, though, Ed? Because he had what should have been an insurmountable gap.
Well, I think Borman had something to say about that being insurmountable, but yeah, I think Borman, having been gotten involved in the incident that was really through no fault of his own, it just happened in front of him, and he didn't really have a whole lot of time to react to Overton and Clark being like sideways all over the track. Look at Lane though, really exited the first sector, still relatively close, but it's the middle sector I think where Borman should now pull away on the harder, more durable tyres, but also he's just got latent pace around here that I don't think Tom Lane has really been able to match all day. And Lane, well, he did the best job that he could. As you said, there was a little bit of traffic going against him, given he was the first to have to deal with it, but we saw Borman early in the race dealt with the traffic better, yeah, despite the setback, Borman has proven that he can rise above it, and Lane may have to settle in for second position here to limit the damage as Gutierrez pits behind him. So now Alan Smith could potentially be in a battle with Gutierrez, I think, for P3 here. As there we go, looks like him and Jules Lalonde have gotten through.
Yeah, Smith's gone onto the hard tyres as well. So is Gilles Lalonde. I'm interested to know, though, as Borman comes into the pits and also Lane comes in, I'm interested here, Ross, to pick up the fact that why didn't Lane, if he can see Borman's time and see that the harder tyres are working better, why didn't he put him on in that second stint?
I mean, it has a lot to do with just the way that you have your car set up and where you think that you can manage and save. I mean, it's going to be different from everyone. The track is currently in a spot where it is fairly warm. I think I just checked and it was 41 degrees still. So it hasn't actually heated up as much as I would have suspected. So, I mean, his car balance might be such that the mediums, even worn, were working out fairly well for him. He could have done a split strategy, run hards at the front and softs at the rear to try and keep them going, assuming that's where his center of pressure is and everything. But it's just kind of driver choice and strategy. But I do know that Ben Borman is very good with strategy, and I think just based on some conversations behind the scenes in terms of tire selection and whatnot, he has absolutely made the best choice for his situation, and he's living that choice right now. Look at him go. Great recovery after that incident.
Yeah, it has. I wonder if Lane's on the verge of changing tyres, and that's why we're still sat there. They came in together. I do wonder whether or not Lane might have put new tyres on that machine. And has he gone for the hards, or has he stayed on the mediums for Tom Lane? Let's see if we can pick up on what he's got. He's still on mediums as well. So is he hoping that Borman's tyres go off towards the end here? We've got 9 laps. Borman obviously hasn't changed from his third stop. Can Lane make that impact, Ed, on the what should be effectively the better tyres on the mediums?
Well, he's going to hope so, but I feel like with the pace that Borman's shown, we know he's got pretty decent time management as well. So I think Tom Lane is going to be a little bit up against it, but you never know what can happen in the remaining 10 laps of this one, or just under 10 laps, I should say. I tell you who this phase of pit stops has worked out very badly for, Johnny Gutierrez, because he's emerged right behind Jerry Chen. So this is great news for Alan Smith then, who can potentially try and overcut while Gutierrez is stuck behind the slightly slower Chen, and Alan Smith can maybe hope that his strategy will play in his favor then the longer he keeps extending every stint. I don't think he's going to be able to go all the way to the end, but he might be very close to Gutierrez when he comes out in this final stop.
The interesting thing for me is in that last pit stop, Chen and Angelidis have gone from 12 seconds apart, which they were after the third stop where we think Chen changed tyres, to now down to, 2.6 or just a top in 3 seconds here as well. Is this the moment where it swings in roundabouts? But currently, if that is the case, that Chen has changed tyres, or Angelidis has changed tyres, Ross, surely he's going to be on the better rubber towards the end of the race.
I think you're right. Yeah, if 10 laps to go, I mean, it's not a lot of room for that. It's still, about 20 minutes or so left of racing, which is it's not nothing. But that window is closing a lot now to be able to make a difference. And 3 seconds between these two drivers is a lot, regardless of your strategy. So I mean, they've just got to be perfect, both of them, if they want to be able to come away with this win.
Find out whether or not Jerry Chen's going to be able to stay where he is, of course, or is he going to get George Angelidis? But at the moment, he's got Johnny Gutierrez, alongside him down into turn number 1. Gutierrez is going to make through. I think now from Jerry Chen's point of view here, Ed, he's got to rely that Gutierrez does the same thing to Angelidis as what he's just done to him, or at least tries to pull him a little bit closer to Angelidis, doesn't he?
Well, the problem is, I think Johnny Gutierrez, we know over a single lap on fairly fresh tyres, he can be immense. So Gutierrez is just going to pull away and not give Jerry Chen the option here. So Chen has got to rely on his own pace, I think, rather than Gutierrez to do all the hard work for him. But yeah, Angelidis, remember, they're in different classes, but they will be fighting for position then, Gutierrez and Angelidis. As I said, Gutierrez, he's in his own race effectively with Smith. I think Magnus Dahlgren has started matching Smith's lap times, and Dahlgren is about 6 seconds behind Smith. So I wonder if Magnus Dahlgren has seen what Smith is doing, and he's trying to save fuel as well. But I would be very surprised if Smith and Dahlgren are able to eke it home and get to the end at this point, because as Ross said, it's a bit of a losing battle then. They've got to just hope that Angelidis can help them out here by holding up Gutierrez.
Surely, though, Ross, judging by this, if Angelidis uses his grey matter between his ear rolls, and Gutierrez catches up with him, surely the quickest thing is to let Gutierrez go, isn't it? They're in different classes.
It's going to depend.
Why would you fight? I know George is George, but I'm just saying, from George's point of view, it makes more sense to allow Gutierrez to go through, not lose time by fighting him and bringing Chen into the battle.
It's going to depend, I think, entirely on when and where he catches him, and then I want to say George's state of mind at the time, because if he feels like keeping Johnny behind him is going to give him an advantage, slowing down Jerry, then he's going to try and do what he can to not let him by. Because like you said, they're fighting for position on track, so he is allowed to defend even if they are in different classes and use him as a bargaining chip that way. I don't think Johnny's going to appreciate that, and so that's where the beauty of the endurance racing culture kind of comes in. It's like, how much do you want to cash in your good graces with your fellow driver to try and win this thing versus maybe letting him go? So if he catches him here and gets by him, I think George doesn't put up a fight.
Clarify, I don't think I'm wrong, but the point system is per class, right?
Correct.
So it makes no sense whatsoever for George Angelidis to fight Gutierrez. Although he's gaining track position, he ain't gaining anything in the points. What's the point?
For points, correct. But like I said, if George perceives a situation where keeping Johnny behind him will slow Jerry Chen down, who is in a points position for him, then he will try and do that.
Yeah, the other thing as well is if Angelidis lifts off to let Gutierrez through, Jerry Chen is going to be on him immediately. So it's almost like he can't afford to show any little chink in the armor there, as he's definitely upsetting Gutierrez here. You can feel that third place disappearing out from under him at this rate, because Dahlgren's had to get out of that strategy and pit. He's come out behind them, but Smith, it seems, has kept going. The other driver that's had to pit before the end and make a third stop in GT3 is Alan Holden, who's come out about 7 seconds behind David Yent in P6. As, oh my goodness, Gutierrez so close to the back of Angelidis through Canada corner, and you can feel Jerry Chen getting excited because, as it happens, Angelidis is defending from Gutierrez, which is slowing both of them down.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. It's slowing both of them down. I can't see the gain. The gain isn't points. The gain isn't positioning class.
Here he comes.
Let him go. Just don't. I'm not saying back off. I'm saying let him go, because you're only affecting yourself. Because there's Jerry Chen. I can't see the gain in this.
I don't think he's defending him explicitly. I think he's the way he's been selecting his lines, that was close, it's just kind of fallen in such a way that he couldn't let Johnny by without significantly slowing himself or compromising his line. So I think that he was trying to look for an opportunity to let Johnny by with minimal loss, and it just was not coming up between traffic and just where they were on track.
Yeah, but now look, there's Chen. Chen's closer than he's been all race currently at this moment in time. Half a second near enough over George, and he's not very far away. In through 7 they go, now coming down into the left-hander of 8. And Chen now can see George and think, right, oh, that ain't going to help. But he was sitting there thinking, right, I can come for you now because you're not very far in front of me due to that situation. I understand what you're saying, Ross, and yes, it would have been detrimental if George had laid off him. But I'm pretty sure, if my memory serves me correctly, which it doesn't always, there were opportunities for Gutierrez to get through without slowing George down compared to where it did actually happen.
That's really hard to say for sure. There were some spots he might have been able to lift. I think George was just trying to lay back and see if there was just going to be a better spot that he could take advantage of and take that. I think he was always going to be held up once Johnny got to him, just because their pace was so close together. And Johnny did have an advantage, but not enough that he would there was like a very clear opportunity he could take. So, I think probably if I were in George's shoes, I would have been doing something similar, just kind of, looking for a way out. Oh, that's a wide approach.
Oh, he's wide, and Stephen Miller. He's going to catch Miller in an awkward spot here. There he goes. The gap's down to barely nothing from Jerry Chen. He can now sniff George's rear end if he wants to. Let's hope. Yeah, it does.
Phrasing.
Shut up. Yeah, I'm trying to pick my words there. I was so close to getting myself into a very sticky situation, just like Jerry would on that one. I said, go through turn 5 and up to 6. Good job you stopped me there, Ross. All sorts would have come out of my mouth at that point. Anyway, through he goes here, Ed. Surely this is George now battling for his life.
Indeed it is. You can tell he's really under pressure here, and Chen is just going to continue to apply that pressure to maximum effect. The interesting thing about Gutierrez, he lost about 3 seconds behind Angelidis, so he had to fight with him. He's gained that back in a lap. It is now about 3 seconds behind. Whoa!
Blocking him in! He blocked him in!
Chen up the inside. Oh, they make contact! That's not... My goodness, your mic's peaking like crazy, James, but there we go. Chen is through, and Alan Holden appearing at the exact worst time for Angelidis at the exit of the carousel there. So Jerry Chen will be grateful. Angelidis will be furious.
Oh, man, that was very, very close indeed. Very, very close to them both going off. Jerry Chen gave no quarter. He saw that Angelidis picked the wrong way. He literally went in behind... He blocked him in behind Holden. Angelidis trying to push his way out and trying to demand gaps that weren't there. And then they both survived, but only blinking just, I can tell you that much. And now Jerry Chen's going to say thank you very much. Angelidis is under pressure to clear the Lexus of Hyun. Oh, he's going to hit him.
Oh, no.
Oh, dear.
Oh.
That was
He
never
missed
on.
that bad. Oh.
I think that was just a desperation from Angelidis there. Saw that Chen was being held up by the lap traffic in GD3, dived up the inside, hoped that he could make the corner. Unfortunately, he didn't make the corner. He ended up using Jerry Chen to slow himself down. So what happens here? Does Angelidis let Chen back through? Oh, I doubt it. By the way, we've lost Chad Gratias from the race, as well as Gutierrez is now right behind Smith.
I don't know how George could see that he's okay to drive away from that without redressing.
Oh.
Yeah.
It looks worse on
I don't
board.
know if he...
It looks worse on board.
Yeah, I don't want to say he hit him deliberately there, because I don't think he did.
No, I don't
I don't know what it would be. Unless he was just distracted by, looking at Junt off to the side, and he didn't look up fast enough to see how fast he was approaching Jerry Chen, who was, I think he was at one of the Uyans that he was kind of held up behind.
Troy, the blue.
Oh, this could get very messy now if Jerry Chen fancies some revenge in the last couple of laps as the GD3s get all out of the way of Angelidis there. Johnny Gutierrez, by the way, 1 second now behind Alan Smith. He's been catching him at over 4 or 5 seconds on the last lap. So Smith is desperately trying to get the fuel tank to last. I don't think it's going to pay out. As, oh my goodness, Angelidis just about squeezes his way through that one. But here comes Johnny Gutierrez. Smith defends the inside. Gutierrez goes clean around the outside and contact, and into the wall goes Smith. And he's flashing his lights. He's not happy with Johnny there.
He's going to pull the George Angelidis there.
Almost. Well, I think George's one was a little more egregious than that. But
we don't ever sit back and say that was on purpose, Ross. That it was fifth gear on braking.
I can't. I'm very interested to hear what he is going to say. I'm sure that that room, that voice chat is going to be very interesting once we get to the end of this. I'm going to be a fly on the wall, I think, when they cross the line. But it's not over. And depending on how this goes, I mean, Jerry is, I think, well within his rights to file an IRR on that. There's no way that, he could be seen as at fault. And he has only everything to gain, which would go into this race, assuming they both make it to the end, which at this rate, it's a question mark.
Yeah, I think it was just clumsy frustration from Angelidis then, and clearly he isn't interested in letting Chen back through to sort of try and appease the stewards. He's going to hold on to track position and fight it out to the end then. Well, oh, look at this. Now Jerry is making moves to the inside and trying to scare Angelidis off the road, not in retaliation, but in sort of, the hurry downs became a bit busy there.
I'm not lost for words very often, but obviously to appease the stewards, I would have thought he might have let him back through.
Yeah, me too.
He obviously is aware that he's now going to get a penalty, right? That's obvious. That was all Angelidis' fault. That wasn't anybody else's. Fifth gear under braking, trying to get that car stopped from fifth gear was just, I've got more hope of winning the national lottery than I have of trying to get that car stopped. But the fact he's still out there fighting seems a bit bonkers. And the fact that Jerry Chen's now coming back at him, is George going to try and fight to try and move away from Dean Clark, who's a lap behind him, to try and take off, nullify some of the penalty there, Ross? I don't really get this.
I'm with you guys on this. Usually George is like one of the very first who will redress the instant that, especially if he's not even sure, if he's on the fence 50-50, like I think I might have been at fault there. I'm just going to let you by to be safe because, you know, not even just the penalty, but just sportsmanship in general. So that was a surprise.
Oh, they've hit each other again.
Yes.
Oh, a little bit of contact.
There we go.
Chen is back through then. I don't know. Didn't look like Angeles was pulling out to let Chen through. I think he was taking the racing line, hoping he could defend it. But yeah, there we go. Littlest bit of contact. Jerry Chen retakes the lead then. The other thing that's going on, we've not been paying attention, is there's a between David Yunt, Troy Ewan, Ryan Pulpit Race, Alan Holmes, a four-way fight for P2 in LMGT3 Pro between those. Wow. So Yunt and Ewan have worked their way to the front through fuel strategy and have sort of overcut Ryan Pulpit Race and Alan Holden here.
Yeah, you can see there they are there, all three cars there as well. That's Dan Kirby, sorry, wrong button first. There is David Yunt.
I think Yunt has just got back through on Ewan, is now starting to pull away. So the Lexus that was struggling early doors actually is playing his cards perfectly.
Yeah, he is at the moment. Fair play to David Judd. I like Mr. Reese's comment on YouTube. That's how I used to break in NASCAR 98 on the PlayStation. He's put there as well in reference to Angelidis' moment. We've lost Chad Gratias. Yeah, there is an incident in there somewhere, I'm sure, but due to all the drama with George and Jerry, we kindly overlooked that one. But this should be a nice little battle for second in this class. Overall, they're coming up to what will be, where is Borman? He's going to start the final lap round Darrell Kruger, who's leading the GT3 AMs quite comfortably now, with Matty Overton a lap back behind him. But Ben Borman's going to be coming over the line very, very shortly. And he's going to, looks like he's on for the win here. I don't think anybody's going to be able to get close to him at all on that one. Chen Angelidis is now 1.9 seconds back. I don't know if he's got damage from that incident. Of course, Dan Kirby leads the way in GT3 Pros, but this is for second place of Yun Reyes and also Troy Uyan in the middle as they're fighting out. And there is Alan Holden just coming over the hill in the background in that purple Lamborghini. He might get himself involved in this as well. So this could be a nice, tidy all-car fight. I think we've got to give props to Alan Holden, though, Ross. He's managed to get that back and get all that time and sitting in what would be effectively second if he can get past these in the next couple of laps.
Yeah, it's just a shame to see, like, after he'd gone through so much in the beginning of this race, you know, staying in touch with Dan Kirby, you know, just to now be kind of at the back of this pro field all of a sudden, you know, and these are tough competitors. I mean, Leon Reyes, I mean, besides some going wides there, he's got his work cut out for him if he wants to be able to get up at the end here. I mean, we're 2 laps away from the final here.
Yeah, I think Magnus Dahlgren is probably playing, hoping that Dahlgren can slow at least, no, he's not going to slow Reyes, at least one of the group down to help him out a little bit here. But Holden's got his work cut out in the last couple of laps on whether or not he's going to get this one done or not here. Dahlgren around the outside. Ooh. You got to go underneath him, underneath the Lexus. There you go. Outside of one, underneath the other. There's Borman in the background as well. Borman's got to try. He's got a little bit of an easy run through the kink. Oh, Reyes. Oh, God. I thought Reyes was going to slide straight into Borman there. That would have been good. Borman's Ed as well. He's battled all of his way back.
I hope you're being sarcastic there, especially after everything that Borman has had to face up with in this race so far, as we see both Davidian and Troy Ian getting a little bit sideways out of Canada corner through Bill Mitchell Bend. They approach now, and Borman, 15 seconds out of Tom Lane, knows he doesn't have to do anything dramatic here. He just has to keep it clean, and win number 2 in a row could be coming his way then. And you can see he's basically lapped nearly everybody up to P7. I think Magnus isn't far away from being lapped here, so that really shows the pace and the dominance that he's shown as he now starts the final lap.
Yeah, final lap for Ben Borman. We'll keep an eye out on Dan Kirby there. This battle I want to pick up on David Jun and Troy Uyan. Ryan Paulbert-Reyes sliding that Porsche round, the Lamborghini in the background doing the same thing. Now, can they make this clean or will it not be clean? Well, we're just about to find out, I'm sure. Borman's heading down into turn 5. We'll pick up on him in about 20 seconds time. Should cover enough time to get over the line here for Ben Borman, but whether or not David Jun, I will say though, Ross, Jun in that Lexus, he looked quite comfortable this season in that car.
And well, it's interesting because when he was running the AMG for a while, I mean, he seemed like he was indomitable. I mean, you think back to last year, you know, some of the battles he had with JT Tammy, especially at places like Imola and elsewhere. You know, he wheeled that thing around, and I would have expected him to kind of put more screws to Dan Kirby, but here he is. Like, not to say that he's doing a bad job. He's obviously running second place right now, but you know, I would have suspected he'd be a little further up the grid. But you're right. You know, he's a little bit struggling. Maybe it's time to put it out to pasture.
Maybe
the car, not the driver.
I hope not. I hope not. Right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Ben Borman has got a few more corners to go. In through Canada corner, through 12. It's going to be a kink to the left for 13. Then into 14. Ben Borman's going to wrap this one up after what can only be described as a roller coaster of a race.
No, what is he doing?
Oh, God.
Celebrating too early.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ben Borman's going to take the victory. It's going to be a winner-winner chicken dinner. Borman over the line he goes, takes victory here as well. It looks like Jerry Chen is going to grab the victory. I think it's actually going to be... No, it's not going to be Dan Kirby. Where is it?
I think Troy Uyan's lost a couple of positions. Holden and Paulbert-Reyes past him, holding up to P3 now.
He's got off track, I think. I think he's got off track.
But it's all kicked off.
Yeah, he's got off track. There's Dan Kirby in behind Jerry Chen. I think it's going to be Daryl Kruger in the arms is going to come over the line. Another man that was involved in an incident and then took the lead and now taking the win thanks to Matty Overton putting in a wall, unfortunately, here as well. Daryl Kruger wrapping up the arm victory. Great job from him. He's a winner this evening here at Road America. And a great job from Daryl. We'll have a look back at that Troy Uyan. I've not forgotten. Just going to get the leaders over the line and then we'll have a quick look before we do the results. But Jerry Chen, a battle. I think that is all we can say, that Jerry Chen has been in here as well. An absolute battle. Over the line he goes, takes that victory. Over the line is a winner for Jerry Chen. Then in behind him is going to be Dan Kirby. He's going to wrap up the GT3 Pros again. So great job from Dan. He's going to wrap that one up as well. Right, who are we looking for? Who was it we were looking for? Troy Uyan, wasn't it?
Yeah, right, losing P2. Yeah. P3, I should say, because it was Yin ahead of him.
No. No.
I think that's him just crossing the line after a few moments ago, isn't it? As everybody just decides to bin it in the wall at the end of the race. But
it's a sim racing tradition.
True. I mean, they're not going to need the car anymore, so why not? But
yeah.
Sorry, I'm trying to find it here. I think it just could be just.
There's Troy facing the wrong way.
There we go.
So something happened at Bill Mitchell Bend.
Oh dear.
And he's almost on the racing line there. So what happens? There goes Paulbert-Reyes, and then I think Ham Holden gets past Paulbert-Reyes as well.
And final corner.
Oh, a fight! Yeah, right at the end. He must have taken advantage of Ryan slowing down after that spin right in front of him.
Go Alan Holden.
Wow.
Bit between his teeth for him. Love that.
And that gets him on the podium, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. It's stellar job there as well for most of these drivers. Borman's all done. Tom Lane's in pit lane. So let's have a look at the race results here. Ben Borman takes that victory after being in a fight of his life with Tom Lane, Johnny Gutierrez and Alan Smith. One man that was in a right old punch-up was Jerry Chen and George Angelidis. Jerry Chen takes the win in the Hypercar Arms, then Angelidis, then Magnus Dahlgren, Gilles Lalonde, Vinicius Concalves and Norm Graf. Further on from that, Hubert van Gashoven, Dean Clark round out the Hypercars. Dan Kirby wraps the win up in GT3 Pros with David Shunt and Alan Holden. Grabbed himself a podium after Troy Uyan binned it at the end, and he overtook Ryan Paulbert Reyes there as well. Chad Gratias is further down the order in the Hypercars. Obviously, didn't finish the race. John Uyan and Brian Hall wrap up the top 19. Behind that, Daryl Kruger takes the victory there in the GT3 AMS ahead of Matty Overton and Stephen Miller. Great job from all of these guys. Let's kick off the interviews at this moment in time, and we'll have a chat with these drivers here as well. And we can start with the GT3 AM winner, Mr. Daryl Kruger, who's going to come and join us, was involved in an incident earlier on, but Matty Overton putting himself in the wall has given this man the win. Daryl, welcome in, buddy. How are you?
I'm pretty good.
Dude, you just took the win at Road America in the GT3 AMS.
Well, they gave it to me, so
Well, no,
I'll take it, though.
Dude, nothing's given. Everything's earned, and you earned that victory. You were consistent. You were involved in an incident with Norm Graff at the corner. You were consistent after that, kept it on track. And it's just unfortunate for Matty Overton. He binned it in the wall. You can't say it was given, son. You earned that.
Well, yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, I drove pretty good, but those guys were faster, so I'm going to have to just, I don't know, man.
Dude, you got a nice chunk of points going into the next round as well. That's going to give you a nice little lift towards the championship. No Vasilius Katarinakis. Can you do it? Can you beat Vasilius and Matty for this season?
I am going to try. My car is getting dialed in. I'm not quite as fast as those guys, but, you know, with a little bit of luck, I'm in.
Dude, you are. I fully agree with you on that one. Daryl, well done on the victory there, buddy. Anyone you want to shout out before we let you go?
No, just I think everybody drove pretty good today, and you know, there's a lot of a little bit of shoving and pushing, but you know, the speed difference of these cars is just phenomenal, and they're just popping into my rearview mirror so fast.
Yeah, absolutely. Well done, buddy, and we'll catch up with you next time out.
Okay, thanks.
All right, let's have a chat with Dan Kirby, the only man who's won of the race and really wasn't involved in anything. Of the other three winners of classes were all involved in drama. But once again, he's come out on top, cemented him at the top of the championship. Dan, well done again, buddy.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it looked like an entertaining race for the podium. I'll have to go watch that. It should be fun.
Oh, yeah, it was David Shunt, Alan Holden, Paulbert Reyes, and Troy Uyan fighting out for second there as well. But it was a, I'm not going to say an easy race for you, Dan, because none of these are easy, but was it comfortable? I got a question, actually, why it pops into my head. Were you managing the gap to Alan Holden right at the beginning?
Yeah, I was doing a ton of fuel saving, and I think he was just doing full push. So it was definitely not easy because it was still a lot of pressure he was putting on me, even though I kind of knew well, actually I didn't know till the stop, and I went 3 laps longer than him. Then I was like, okay, yeah, he's not going to make it. So it kind of eased up the pressure about halfway through the race. But yeah, that first stint with Alan was fun. He's quick, and he's still putting me under pressure there.
Yeah, he's done very well this season in that Lamborghini. I've got to be honest there as well. Championship for you, Dan, is looking a little bit more cemented after this one.
Yeah, and yeah, it should be relatively fine to bring it home.
Great, mate. Well, very comfortable. Dan Kirby there as well. Dan, anyone you want to shout out before we let you go, bud?
Just the usual, everyone. Awesome race.
Okay, bud. Take care, fella, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Alrighty, thank you.
Next up is the Hypercar AM winner, Jerry Chen, who was involved in a bruiser of a race, and we weren't even in the boxing ring, but I'm sure he's come out black and blue, especially after the incident with George. We'll have a chat with him now. Jerry, well done, first of all, on your victory, buddy.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Let's get it out of the way. How do you see the incident with George in turn 1?
I think he did an Esther on me, basically. But it's fine. It's I had to check up for Troy. I misjudged the entry, so I was way slow. I don't know where his braking point was though.
Well,
It was all right.
Let's just put it this
It was
way.
in your cockpit.
Yeah, it was your rear end, Jerry. To be honest, mate, he was still in 5th gear in the braking zone and tried to slam the car down on that one.
Oh, wow.
So, I'm not. Listen, George isn't a dirty driver, and I'm not going to say he did it on purpose. He clearly missed his braking point there as
he
well.
wouldn't do that on purpose. It was fine. I know he was on the hard, so I knew that last stint I was going to be faster than him. It was just. So even after he punted me, I was like, okay, that's all right. I'll just get him back at that turn 5.
Did you after that happened though? Did you think you were going to catch him back up? Did you think he was going to redress the position? What was the full process after that?
Oh, the thought process, I'll just catch him back up because I had changed front tires in the 3rd stop, so I knew I was going to be faster. That entire final stint, I was catching him like 2 seconds a lap. So yeah, I knew I could catch him. As long as I could get inside on the braking zone at turn 5. But it was so much fun. I mean, I don't think we were separated. The only time we were separated by 12 seconds was at that 3rd pit stop when I changed tires. But that was so much fun going through traffic.
That cements you at the top of the Hypercar AMS. Again, gaining points on George going into COTA. Where do we see the championship going, honestly, between you two? Because you've been back and forth all season.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of tracks that are favorable for the Acura. Like Fuji, I have no chance. I just know that ahead of time. I can't close his top speed. He'll be like 10 kph faster than me at Fuji. So same at Indianapolis. So I have to just stay close, try and maintain the gap, and then Road Atlanta, I think I have the advantage. So it's probably going to come down to Road Atlanta again. As it always does.
I'd be interested to see it in Indianapolis, to be fair, because there's only that one area that the top speed will change, and that's the run out the final corner right the way down into turn number 1. Other than that, you've got quite a wiggly section in the middle. So I'd be interested to see how the Porsche goes there, Jerry. But listen, dude, I've loved it. It's been an absolutely amazing battle between you two. Anyone you want to shout out before we let you go?
Just everyone in the race day. The GT3s were really good. I probably gave Alan some brown underpants, but otherwise, it was so much fun out there passing traffic.
All right, bud. Well, take care, fella, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Thanks, guys.
All right, next up is your Hypercar Pro winner, Mr. Ben Borman, who was involved in his own catalyst of incidents. The man's had more rides, more ups and downs on a roller coaster this evening as well, after being involved in an incident. But let's have a chat with him first off. Ben, congratulations on the victory, mate.
Thank you very much, but it wasn't my fault.
I never said it was your fault.
Yeah, but I just want to say it wasn't my fault.
No, it wasn't your Ben. Ben, I was getting there. mate. First off, it wasn't your fault. No, I appreciate it wasn't your fault. Unfortunately, Manny Overton was broke. He tried to get the car back to the pits. Then Gratius was in behind him and he hit him. And then you had nowhere to go and you hit him. So that's fine. It wasn't your fault at all. But that race for you was proper up and down, wasn't it? It was the lead. It was then down the order and then it was back up again.
But you don't know what I was thinking just before that, when I was thinking I've had my real luck with the traffic.
Yes, it was very
So
handy.
maybe it is my fault.
Well,
You're going to blame your own thoughts.
Wrong
It's
thoughts,
like
the wrong-
commentator curse,
yeah,
guys.
he's going to blame his own luck he's had throughout the whole race. I don't know. But it was a great race from you anyway. But did you think after that incident happened and you were catching Tom Lane that you could actually get back the lead?
I thought it was possible. So much depends on how well you can get tyres to work. People are doing different things with tyres, changing one side, double stinting, single stinting. It's always a bit. And the other thing is traffic. Just meeting a car, nobody doing anything wrong, and you can lose 3 seconds. So that could have worked either way for either of us.
Yeah, absolutely. I am interested to know, though, Ben, you've won 2 on the bounce now. That's given you a nice little boost in the championship. How far could you actually think you can go here? Because at the moment, you were down in 7th coming into this race. You're obviously going to get points that's going to put you up ahead of Michael Locke, Michael Axel Flam, Magnus Dahlgren even. Can you interrupt the likes of Johnny Gutierrez, Ben Kisby and Tom Lane, do you think?
I just think of each race as it comes. Both what happens in R Factor 2 and, I can't tell what work contracts I've got falling out of the sky. So, yeah, I just race each race as it comes.
Well, it's been a very entertaining race, Ben, I've got to be honest. And I look forward to seeing, hopefully, if we can see you next time out at COTA, that would be absolutely amazing. And, I'm hoping we can see you there. Anyone you want to shout out before we let you go?
Just a shout out to John Mayer. It was good to hear from him earlier in the day. And just to say we've got a Lotus in the garage for him if he wants to punish himself.
Nice. Well, I'm sure he probably will. Ben, take care, buddy, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, he's gone.
He's gone. Well, guys, I've got to admit, that was an absolute banger of a race from me. Ed, final words from you this evening?
Yeah, I think really competitive, surprisingly, in all four classes, really. Obviously, the main highlight was that Titanic, probably Angelidis-Chen battle, but Borman's comeback. We saw Kruger taking that unexpected win. He was quite humble about it afterwards, wasn't he? And then Dan Kirby, of course, dominating in GT3 Pro, but that huge second place fight of all different strategies, and it all played out at the end for Davidian and indeed Alan Holden, both of whom put in really, really strong performances then. So, yeah, I think bring on COTA and, let the American leg of the calendar continue.
Yeah, absolutely. Ross, final words from you, buddy.
Yeah, Ed said it great. Just a fantastic race with battles all up and down, evolving strategies and everything. And even with the smaller field, I mean, all the drivers managed to put on just a hell of a show. It was entertainment up and down, and like you said, lots of respect all around. We didn't really see too many egregious incidents, even though there were some very strong battles going on. I think everyone, as Jerry said, there were not too many interclass disparities. So yeah, we want to see more of that again. Hopefully we can get some more drivers in over the summer vacation here as they come back in and come off from the beach and get some more of that action.
Absolutely. Right, guys, that's going to wrap it up from us here on the JBB YouTube channel and the CMS YouTube channel as well. Don't forget, like, subscribe, turn on the bells, and I hope you've enjoyed this one as much as we have. I've been JP. I've been in the booth with Edward Hunter and Mr. Ross Smith. And as always, take care. Have a great week. And you never know, we might see you on the track sometime. Good night.